Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. Buzz, 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 buzz. It's Blake's Buzz Live. More, hate less, read comics. It's Blake's Buzz Live.
Buzz, buzz, babies.
Buzz, buzz, babies. That's the song. You know it's going down. You know it's getting real. You know we're about to nerd the fuck out. I am here with a bunch of wonderful people tonight. Guys, I'm so excited to talk to all of you. You've all got some really stellar books that have either previously been released or are coming out, or we're in this like weird purgatory place where your guys' comics are coming and going and about to be here, and you're all so goddamn talented. Why are you on my show? I'm just confused. I don't know why you're all here. We're gonna go in the circle that we all logged in on. I'm gonna introduce everybody, and then we're gonna talk a little bit. We're gonna talk about each other's books, and then just kind of shoot the shit and nerd out. We're gonna go first to Mr. AJ Mason, who's got a live crowdfunding two-parter right now, releasing digital only, very spooky, very cerebral, very like a guttural, intense, emotion-packed horror dual set of comics. What's up, AJ? Like, how you doing, bud?
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, dude, I'm excited. I'm excited to have you. Like, thanks for coming on my show. I'm supposed to thank you. You guys are the talent. I cater to the talent, baby. Get real quick. Give us a quick hit of what you got going on in this crowdfunding campaign you got live right now.
Okay, so I have a Kickstarter campaign for a double feature realistic horror campaign. So it's 2 comics, 2 pages, 12 pages long, each comic. And then, it's if you like stories like the movie Green Room or Hush or Psycho or Silence of the Lamb, then it's my comic, but I really, really recommend it to you. And then you also have like a lot of great rewards that you can get, like a digital bundle of like other comics that I made, and also the other creator that is on this campaign, which is a wonderful artist named Ethan Liu is on. And again, thank you so much, Blake, for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Awesome. No, it's cool. I always tell you guys not to thank me, but I also like it when you thank me because it makes me feel important. So please keep thanking me. But also know, like, I will say that I'm a pretty good host, and I'm pretty good at getting people hyped up for comics. But the only reason that I'm able to get people hyped up for these comics is because I find people who make good fucking comics, and we're here to talk good fucking comics tonight. And on that note, Benjamin Morse, who's just like, holy shit, like, what? Why are you even on my show? You're like double funded. You're an amazing artist. You have an amazing story. What are you here to amp up tonight? You'll say it better than I am.
Just wanted to talk about the book. It's also awesome to talk to other people doing stuff now, and especially since you guys are all doing Kickstarters too, to talk about, hey, what's working for you, what's not, just all that stuff. So, and also, thanks for having me. Awesome to be here.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome. I had so much fun reading Scarlet Twilight, man. Like,
awesome. Thanks.
Dude, like, no, like, it's so all right. So I'm gonna throw myself under the bus right now and mention that I backed Scarlet Twilight 1. Somehow I missed the second one, and noticed, like, when you have your third issue campaign is live right now. And when I saw that, I was like, wait, what the fuck happened to number 2? I guess you had COVID.
I launched the campaign. It was the holidays as well. I think I launched it like November 30th, something like that, maybe in 25th. Kind of was caught up in the holidays, started to not feel so good. Found out it was COVID, had to quarantine, and it was never that bad. But was I on there like trying to get on shows or posting?
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. COVID is not that bad. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, good.
I don't know what the rules are about that. My experience, it was okay.
No, it's so weird,
I was
right?
just
Like
tired.
for different people, like it hits everybody so differently. It's so weird.
Yeah,
Like
I fell asleep playing Dungeons and Dragons one night which embarrassed my wife a little bit, but that was it. That was the worst thing that
The
happened.
falling asleep or Dungeons and Dragons?
yeah, like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, we all played Dungeons and Dragons we started during the pandemic, and it was a lot of fun. So we still
that's
do it.
cool.
But
yeah,
it
man.
wasn't that bad. But that's why number 2, I was not shouting from the rooftops, check out the book. And it was the holidays as well. People are kind of quiet, and distracted, and all that.
Yeah.
So that's how it happened, I think.
Well, man, that's crazy. Like, so I backed one digitally because your digital tiers are ridiculous. You should charge more for them. Like, I'm just gonna throw that. I'm like, I don't just as your hostess with the mostest, like you should definitely charge more for your digital tiers. But it's a great fucking comic. And thank you for sending me number 2. So I got to read that, and it's just you know, I back a lot of campaigns, and I a lot of times I wait for the physical to arrive, right? Because I paid for it, right? You know, like I want to hold it in my hands and read it and see how the paper stock is and the cover stock is it card stock, is it fan, like how's it feel when I hold it? You know, I nerd out. That's one of the best parts about Kickstarter, right? Is like it doesn't come with the moisture wrinkles. Like if you buy a fucking Marvel comic backed by Disney money, like tell me how that makes fucking sense. But anyway, and I love
is this about
Marvel.
The paper? I guess a few months ago the paper got really bad.
Yeah,
I read
some. It's bad. It's been bad.
I'm mostly
bad,
digital.
baby.
I did not, but I did see chatter about that like a month ago.
Yeah, like, it's weird. They're cutting costs hard.
Oh,
that's one thing about DC. Like DC will charge you $1 extra for a variant, but they'll give you a cardstock cover. DC paper stock is a little bit better than Marvel. Marvel is I don't want to be like that asshole, but like I buy big 2 stuff, but like, you know, I buy a lot of Marvel omnibuses, right? And Marvel omnibuses are beautiful and great hardcovers. We get dust jacket variants now. You know, like I spend extra money on that kind of Marvel, but yeah, Marvel single issues, I don't know what's going on, and I'm not the only one complaining about it. And we'll just stop there.
I've read it, and like I said, I'm a digital guy. I don't pay that much attention to it, but I have certainly seen people saying, "What is going on here?" I don't know.
What's happening?
Like shortage thing or whatever. But
yeah, well, maybe it's not paper. Maybe that's why there's a paper shortage, but Marvel's not using paper anymore.
I remember.
Go ahead. Using dust, like dreams and dust.
I know I went to see a talk shortly before the pandemic at the Museum of Illustrators in New York City. And it was supposed to be Denny O'Neil talking. Unfortunately, he had just taken a fall. This was shortly before he died. And Paul Levitz was the one to give a talk in his stead.
Oh, wow.
And was talking about, he had a lot of great stuff to say. He was talking about the history of Batman, kind of what Denny O'Neil would have covered, but did the best he could. And of course, he had his own stories and insight as well. But he talked about that summer where Batman the movie was huge in '89. I was 10, so I'm probably older than you guys. But I remember that pretty well. And he was talking about it from their side. And he said the biggest problem we had is just finding paper to print the comics on. So I wonder if we're sort of going through that now at the big 2 or other places. Just, you know, not for the same reasons, but they maybe just don't have the same options or something like that.
Everything's cyclical, right? Like history repeats itself. So yeah, there's definitely, you know, right now we're like, what paper? How's there a paper shortage? These things have happened before. It's just like it's coming back. But yeah, no, it's interesting and it's weird. It's sad. It's many things. But I have said numerous times that one of the best parts of Kickstarter and a reason to pay the extra money for Kickstarter shipping, Kickstarter production is you just get nicer comics. You get this fucking cardstock cover. You get these thick pages. You get pages so thick with Kickstarter. You're so used to like comics you buy in the store, right? So like every time you turn a fucking comic, you turn a page for a Kickstarter comic, you're rubbing your fingers against it, right? Because you're like, this is like 3 or 4 pages. And you're like, and then finally, like you're like, nope, okay, it's just one page, and you just keep turning them. So yeah, but I like that. I nerd out on paper stock now, which is like, how worse can we get as a nerd people, right? Like, we complain about so much shit, and now we're like, well, the paper's not thick enough, and the cardboard didn't feel like a metal cover. I bought my first metal cover the other day, and now I'm totally confused because that shit was gnarly. But anyway, yeah. So Benjamin, happy to have you here.
Happy to be here.
We're gonna talk more about your ridiculously awesome comic. We'll come back to you, and we're just doing the little intro now. Coming up next, Mr. Todd Matthy, who's writing a horror, a wrestling horror comic, and has like. You're just the mayor of Pull Quote City. I feel like that's what you are, man. Like, you're the fucking pull quotes you have for your comic are insane. Like, you are a well-connected individual, deservingly so. Like, the what I've read from your comic, which we're going to talk about is deservingly so. But you've done some Dynamite stuff before, so like you've been in the game for a little bit, but tell us what you're here to talk about tonight.
All right, I'm going to be talking about my campaign for Disciple. It is a comic book that basically takes, I like to say it's Sandman and American Gods meets in WWE, and it's about a wrestler who sells himself to the God of War. $75 away from being funded, by the way, tonight, and it's probably one of the funnest things. It's like everything I ever wanted to write.
No pressure, Blake's Buzz audience.
No pressure.
And thank you for bringing that up, because I just realized that like I've totally been ignoring like all the comments that have been going on. I am so bad at this live part where you got to talk to I have to talk to you guys and then make sure everybody gets enough screen time. And then I got to make sure everybody gets enough. I got to show all the comments. My life is so hard. Can we just talk about how hard my life is real quick? Just I do these live streams and I get these free comics and I got to talk about nerd shit twice a week, guys. And it's just, I just don't know what I'm thinking about finding a therapist, but they don't want to talk to me because they say my life's too easy. But I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that at all. Second Street Marvel's in the house. All right. Well, yes, Vault does make very pretty comics. Vault can basically do no wrong. Ignacio, we love you. John Westoff, we love you. David Hazan, I love Kraft mac and cheese. I don't care what you say. You can write Nottingham. That's fine, but you're wrong about Kraft mac and cheese. Listen to Blake's Buzz podcast and you guys will know what we're talking about. It's fine. I love you. Oh man, it's so weird to have fans, right? Do you guys weird out about that? Do you guys you guys actually make shit? I just talk about shit, but does it weird you out when people hit you up and they're like, man, I'm so into your stuff, and you're like, what? No, leave me alone. That's weird.
Yes, I'll say yes.
I think it's pretty cool. Actually, I like it.
Yeah. I bet it feels good and weird though, simultaneously, right? Because you parties yes, I want this, but also what? I didn't feel that when I put it out there. I don't know. That's just me thinking. And last but definitely not least, Joe Lolar, for Forever Winter, not Endless Winter, which we were
that's completely different.
We were DMing and I was like, dude, I'm so stoked to talk about EW, and he was like, Entertainment Weekly, and I was like, no, just kidding, Forever FW. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about the Kardashians. I'm ready to talk about Entertainment Weekly if the conversation goes that way.
I can talk about Pete Davidson also a little bit. So yeah,
Kanye's actually coming in later. He's gonna hop in the stream when he feels like it. Yeah.
Put him and Kanye in the cage. Let's see what happens.
We're just gonna listen to 808s and Heartbreak for an hour and a half. No, Joel, man, you're dude. What you're another one. You're just you just took it all upon yourself, and you're like, I'm gonna make some great art and great story, and what is
Yeah,
10
I mean,
years,
I
10
definitely got
years,
some help.
300 pages. Like, I love the way you sell it. You're like, this was 10 years, 300 pages. The snow is heavy. Like, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna wring the emotions out of you. And dude,
That's exactly how I sold it.
No, man, it's so good. Like, you're like, all of you guys, you have great books, but Joel, man, your book is so good. Like,
Thank you.
Tell us what you just dropped. Like, you just dropped a volume 1 that's like a borderline compendium. It's not really a volume 1. It's more than a volume 1. It's an epic collection. It's a half an omnibus.
Yeah, it definitely
like,
is. It's 300 pages. It's the 5 main chapters, I think 15 backup stories, a pinup gallery. It's got all the bells and whistles you would want from a crowdfunded book, I think.
And everyone likes you. Like, that's got to feel good too, right? Like,
everybody likes me.
Everybody just has like great things to say about you.
Is it source on this reliable? I don't know if that's true or not. I'll take it. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you, but I don't know about that part.
Well, because I heard about you from the cult of Icarus crew. Like, that's how
right. Jenna
that's
and
how
Carl.
I found it. Yeah,
they're very nice to me. Those two.
How do you know? How do you guys know each other?
Number 2 just came out today.
Number 2 and the second print of number 1. They've also been on.
That's
the show.
true.
But how did you? So you knew Carl from the school. Me
and Carl went to the Kubert School together from 2003 to 2006. That's where we met, and then I know Jenna through him. That's Jenna's Carl's fiance. So
yeah,
met her, doing shows just out on like the con circuit, and just getting to hang out with her. And I've always known Carl was awesome, but Jenna equally awesome now, doing big things, writing a lot of stuff. Really happy and proud of her too.
Yeah, they're both really fun people, and yeah, they were on my show, but before they were on my show, they were on a show that I watch every Friday, which is Explain Yourself with Kevin and Will. And they were talking about their own comic and threw you under the bus. And I looked
in the best way possible.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like a bad
being under that bus.
Like, yeah,
I've been thrown under a lot of buses.
Like, let that bus roll over me, baby. But like, I looked you up, and then it was so funny, man. Like, it looked so cool, and I ordered all 5 issues from your web shop. And I didn't know that you had just done this Kickstarter for the trade, right? Like, I showed up late to the party, and then
I think the books were on their way to me when you ordered.
Yeah, and you know what he did? Like, he was like, oh, thanks for buying all my comics, and then he sent me the book. Like, look at this. He made me feel, and also look how girthy this bad boy is. This is volume 1. That's not a DC volume 1. That's not a Marvel volume 1. That's not a 4 issue $9.99 image trade. That's a 300 page girthy boy. But no, like, the new cover is great. The material is great. Like, man, like, it's so good. It's so good. It's so snowy, and I love the black and white. Like, it's I've recently really gotten into manga, and it's like, it doesn't read like manga. It reads like a Western comic, but I just appreciate black and white comics more now because of that. And it's beautiful. Like, it's beautiful, and it's raw, and it's intriguing. You have a huge cast that you control so perfectly, man. Like, yeah, it's like, again, like, it's just crazy. You guys come on my show because you're too damn talented. Talk to me. What the fuck are you guys doing here? It's weird.
You invited me. So that's
that is true. That is true.
You invited me, so I go. I don't get invited many places, so I'll show up.
Well, we need to change that shit. You need to be on the shows. You need to be talking about this comic. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we have introduced our cast tonight. I'm your host, Blake Morgan. I got the Blake's Buzz podcast. I got the Blake's Buzz live. I've recently found out that I'm made of soy. At the last week's been weird, but we won't get into that because it has a lot of drama, and I'm done with it. Fucking done with it. I muted the threads. I'm tired of the notifications. I don't want that shit anymore. All of you guys, by the way, just
let them get back to their pyramid scheme. They'll be all right.
But all of you guys have really great fucking books, and I'm really stoked to talk about it tonight. And we all, the last few weeks, like I've had a amalgamation of how things are being published, but we're all Kickstarter warriors here tonight, and I please ignore how I included myself in that, because the only part of the we in that is that I'm backing your projects. I don't have my own comic, but it's interesting. Like you guys are doing great things in crowdfunding, and you're paving the way and reminding everybody that like, hey, you know, like we've got really good stories to tell. And if a publisher doesn't want to pick us up, fuck you. I'm going to put it out anyway. And I love that. So let's just start talking. Let's start jamming out. Like, let's go back to AJ. All right.
Okay.
AJ, I forgot to share my screen. Sorry. I'm still getting used to this, guys. Still getting used to this. Let's see. All right. So we're going to share this bad boy, and then all right, hold on. Here we go. Here's a sick party. All right, boom. All right, so nice. AJ, yep. Mr. AJ, like, how'd you find your artist, dude? Because your artist like takes you out of the comfort zone, which I think is so great for horror, right? Because it's like you want to. We need to be impressed. Like we want to love the art, but you need to jostle us, right? You need to make us feel uncomfortable. You need to put us in a weird place. And your artist does that. How did you find this guy?
So the guy again is Ethan Liu. He's an artist from Spain. And the way I found him, honestly, like we're going way back. We're friends for, I think now about 7 years, because I tried writing comics ever since I was 17. Now it's 8 years actually. I'm 25 now, and so from 17 to like 19, I tried writing comics. Then I took a little break, and then I came back, and now I've been writing ever since. But yeah, so I know him from I think like Facebook. Like I found one of his images that he posted on one of those Facebook groups, you know, about like collaborating with comic book creators. And we just started talking, and he did that first comic, the Sick, out of the Sick and Party Invasion. And then we actually didn't do any comics for, I think it was like 3 years. We didn't make any comics together. And then because he was going to school, and then he had some free time. He asked me, hey, what's up? Like, do you have any scripts? I had a lot of scripts to send him. So Party Invasion was the one that he really liked. And he said, yeah, let's do it. Let's start making this shit, you know? And yeah. And honestly, I'm so lucky. I think any writer will agree with me that sometimes you just feel so lucky that artists that are so good are willing to even work with you. Like, I'm working with him, and also I'm making a graphic novel trilogy for IDW with Dominic Bustamante, who's like super amazing. He's like going to be one of the greats for sure.
Wait, you're working with IDW?
I am, yeah. Currently working with IDW.
Dude, all you guys, I'm about to like just kick all of you off my show. Like, you guys are like, I got this Kickstarter. I'm also like. You're working, dude. That's fucking solid, dude. Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's honestly.
You also like maybe just like throw IDW a line, and be like, "Hey, you should let Blake's Buzz review your comics," because I keep sending them emails and they don't reply. But that's different. It's fine. We won't talk about that right now. But I will say, I love this page. This title page right here is so good. It's just so like. And I love Sick. And I told you this in the green room. I love Sick so much, but I love this Party Invasion title page. Like the text, the glow on the title, the copper tones and this house that they're walking into. Man, it's just like, oh, you just build intrigue. It's just there's so much intrigue built, and like, you know, damn you for being talented. Like you guys, like it's ridiculous. But yeah, this is such an intriguing project, and like we talked about previously, and I'm going to ask you, with Kickstarter, there are people that still complain, and they say, hey, I don't like paying extra money for shipping. I don't understand why Kickstarter is more expensive. And we try to get past that, right? Like we try to tell them, and that's what we talked about earlier, like paper stock, cover stock. Like you're getting a physically better comic. That's what you're paying the extra money for. But you just went all digital. So like what how did that happen?
So the way that happened, I'm sure you can tell already by my accent that I'm not a U.S. citizen. So I'm right now, currently, I'm at Providence, Rhode Island, but before, like, I haven't been here. So usually, I don't know if people know this, but Kickstarter doesn't really allow you to launch any campaigns if you're not from the U.S. or other countries that they're working with.
Oh no shit!
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Wow.
So here you go. So they're not really allowing you to launch any campaigns. So I actually had to wait because I'm here for a job. So I actually had to wait until I came here to actually launch any sort of campaign. And then also, like, I know that, just like dealing with mailing and stuff like that is just really, really hard work. And I really, really appreciate everyone that's doing it. And like, it's crazy to me, people that do that and like really get into it, and they people that really ship out great books, is fantastic to me. But I, again, just as a non-US citizen who's never had to deal with US mail before and shipping and all that stuff, I just, again, honestly, I just didn't know how to handle with all of that. And I thought that, well, I saw a few people that ran some Kickstarters that had only like digital rewards, and I actually, like, most of the time backed Kickstarter campaigns that, like, and I usually got the digital reward. So I said, if I like digital, I'm assuming that there are other people out there that do also. So I did that. But actually, to be honest, like, it is something that I am a little bit struggling with, because I've been talking to a few creators that have been doing some Kickstarters, and they told me that the reason why they think so. Right now, I'm at 57%, and we have almost 14 days left. And they're telling me that why they think that, like, they think that my main struggle with my campaign is that actually because I went all digital, and I hope that we'll be able to get it funded. Like, I'm doing my best. I'm promoting on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, like the whole shebang.
Yeah.
And we'll see if it works. And because definitely international backers sometimes only get, like, from Kickstarter, they only get digital rewards, and I get that because I am an international backer. So yeah, that's basically it. That's why I've chosen that way, because it was mainly more practical and logical to me to launch it that way.
Yeah, no pressure, listeners, because I told AJ if he came on my show, it was guaranteed funding. So just like hop in there. I'm just kidding. So I started this really stupid, cheesy thing, and people really seem to dig it. And it's like there's that movie trailer mentality, right? Where it's like, in a world where everything's failing, this movie is gonna make everything better. And I started like introducing everybody's comics like that, right? So like here goes AJ.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Oh, well, now you fucked me up. Now you're looking forward to it. Now we're just going downhill.
She's on now.
Sick begins with a young man named Holden who meets Jeanette, a beautiful, confident girl, on a bus ride back home. But when Jeanette starts sharing her mysterious dark past with Holden, things start to get very intense very quickly. And then Party Invasion tells the story of three bored friends who crash a random party, only to realize a little too late. What kind of party they're attending, and what terrible consequences would be if they got caught. So you have brought us into this world where the beautiful girl brings drama. Who would have thought that? Man or female, the beautiful man or the beautiful woman like brings trauma to the like innocent bystander who gets caught in that eye gaze, right? And then you bring us into this whole new drama of the people that crash a party and not just crash a party. Like, this isn't Wedding Crashers, this isn't Funeral Crashers, this isn't Will Ferrell like, mom, bring me the meatloaf. This is something totally different. And you put us into these really uncomfortable circumstances with an artist that is very talented and good at making us feel uncomfortable simultaneously. And that's just, dude, that's cool. And like, you know what, you release it digitally, put a fucking like $85 hardcover out, whatever you want to do. It's a good story. It's a good story, and people need to give you some fucking money. And so listeners, people that are friends of the show, friend of the pod, or people that don't like me and just like good comics, that's cool too. Like, just AJ deserves your fucking money. This is he's good. He hits you in the feels, right? You are good at emotion, and your artist is good at replicating those emotions, which I think is tricky in a creative team. Like, you guys got to feel comfy together to like pull that off, and you're pulling that off. And that's what good horror is, right? Good horror is a manipulation of emotions, right? Like, to be scared, we have to feel. You have to feel, and you're doing that, right?
Thank you so much. And I just want to say that from now on, I'm just gonna send you like every like log line of every script that I have, because I want you to read it out for me that way.
I'm good.
No,
it's cheaper than getting somebody on Fiverr to do your voiceover, so you're set.
True. Yeah, and also, like, to be honest, I'm one of the writers that don't read out like their dialogues or anything out loud that they write, because then I get like I overthink how I sound. So to hear you say it makes me way more like just relieved that it actually sounds good when you read it out loud.
Well, good, yeah. Like, I make everything sound better. That's because I bought a fucking $400 microphone. That's the only reason that I blew my tax return on a talking stick. So that's cool. Promiscuous Time Traveler, who is a friend of the show, who has the best fucking screen name ever, is always popping in, letting me know that he's listening. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. AJ, man, like, we're going around the circle. This, I don't understand what I'm really doing on my show. I get like, I like doing the panel deal, but I have to remind myself that like, I can't just talk to one of you. We have to keep like going around the block. So we're going to keep going around the block. But again, like, guys, feel free to interrupt me. Feel free to pop in and share some thoughts, because we're all going to talk about one thing and one thing only, and that's comics. And tonight we're talking about crowdfunding comics, and all you guys are dealing with that stressor and that clusterfuck. Some of you have gone past that, and you're into the shipping part, which is an even bigger clusterfuck. So, right, but I'm just saying, like, if you want to pop in, like, don't worry.
Actually, I had a question about AJ. You're, I guess, more of a comment. So, like, you got 2 stories. I think they're both 11 pages, right?
12 pages each.
12 pages, I guess, shorter. I'm really taken aback by you've got a pretty decent amount of preview pages on your campaign. And I'm thinking, like, this is probably a good percentage of the story. I can tell from the way those preview pages work, you're pacing them really well. It's not going to just wrap up really quickly or be like it might be a twist ending, but it's not going to be just like, oh, and then something else happened. And so I'm really, really interested to see like how these things get wrapped up, because you've given us a fair amount. If you guys check out the campaign, if everybody watching checks out the campaign, there's a fair amount of story there, and it's really well put together. I'm really eager to see how it wraps up, because there's very cool for both stories, very cool intros.
Oh,
Well,
thank you so
Benjamin,
much.
I guess you just got to back the campaign then, baby.
Oh, he already
Did this afternoon.
Pony up,
Yeah.
pony up.
That's cool art. I was blown away also by your artist Ethan is doing these great Blender experiments with your environments and stuff like that, which is very cool to see.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that. Yeah, basically we just shown the preview pages that basically don't really reveal the twists yet, because both comics have those twists to them, but we just didn't really want to reveal them, of course.
Sure.
While still like giving a little bit away, but not too much. But yeah, thank you so much for saying that.
No, it makes me eager to see what the twist is going to be, because I can tell you guys have a really good sense of pacing. You take some slow moments in both of the intro stories, so I'm like very interested to see how you wrap it up in 12 pages. I have the hardest time cutting things down.
Yeah, and once you do read it, please let me know what you think. I
Absolutely,
would love
man.
to. Thank
Yeah,
you.
12 pages will go fast.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
for myself, it's not a lot.
Yeah.
So
I had to cut my my story that's coming out this summer from Red 5 was originally a 12-issue story, then a 7-issue story, then 4,
ooh.
and it was hard. I'm very happy with what I ended up with. I actually think the ebb and flow of that is just right. I'm kind of glad I was forced to do it, but at the same time, boy, that was rough.
What are you
that's a
doing
lot.
with Red? What are you doing with Red 5? That's slimming you down so hard on that page count. Like,
No, actually,
you're like, I can't talk about it, Blake. Shut up.
I can talk about it. I started with another publisher, and the pandemic kind of threw everything off with them. Was free to take the book elsewhere, and ended up with Red 5. But the initial publisher suggested 4 issues was about where it ought to be, and I was like, okay, cool, whatever we need to do. And then just kind of said that on one side of my mouth and said, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? But it actually, I do think it made me focus on, the roller coaster of it. Like you go down, you go up, you have a big build up, you have a big go down. Like that's that sort of thing. I think that was the right page count for the story. But it was tough to do. But 12 pages, I don't know. I could write a scene in 12 pages, but a whole story.
Well,
That's rough.
So like just natural progression, which is funny because you're like the next on my clockwise list, Mr. Benjamin Morse, Mr. Benjamin, with you and your Scarlet Twilight, and I cannot believe you're just drawing and lettering. First of all, the art's great, the story's great. You know what's really fucking good in Scarlet Twilight though, like. And like, please don't take offense to this, but like, I just want you to know that I appreciate your lettering is so good. Like, beginning and end, like when you give us, like, when you end cap it and it's, you're doing that to kind of, it's very much a vibe, right? Like, it's you know, like, ooh, we're coming back here. And then at the end of the issue, you're like, ooh, what's happening next? Will this happen? Will this happen? And it's you're playing to that timeline of like old school superhero-esque, right? And it's but it looks so good on the page.
Those guys did some great things with lettering back then. I had this hardcover over here of, I think it's called Batman in the War, and it's just a collection of Batman strips and comics from like the early 40s, where he's fighting the Nazis and stuff like that. But you just go through there, you're struck by sometimes the art's good, sometimes it's not good. The stories are what they are. If you're into the Golden Age stuff, you'll like it. If not, not so much. But the lettering, they do a lot of awesome things, and I'm like, how did this fall out of style? This is really cool. Just the way they do some captions is great. They'll like reverse some letters at the beginning of a caption. Just awesome looking stuff that I think really, it's a great tool. And that's one of the things that made me want to do Scarlet Twilight, is looking through a lot of these old comics and be like, there's a lot of great tools here that we don't use anymore, that can give you a lot of atmosphere, put you in that, like really take you back to an old school comic feel, that just aren't being used. And I thought, well, that's a great reason to do something that lives in that world and use it, sometimes ironically, sometimes not. I'm not too ironic as a writer or, a person, I guess, but, like it was fun to use that stuff. And I thought these are great storytelling devices. So I'm glad you appreciate the lettering. It was actually one of the things that really made me want to do this.
Cool, man. You're welcome. I'm glad you appreciated my appreciation.
Lettering is vastly underappreciated in comics in general.
You sure notice it when it's bad.
Yes,
it's
right.
bad.
That's what irritates me is like you really only notice it when it's bad, and like no, not enough people appreciate good lettering, and it's like
silent art.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's underappreciated because
a
good letter you almost don't even notice they're there.
This.
You know,
you're just like cool, thanks, but I don't appreciate you, right?
There are even big 2 books I see now, like the fonts are just not. I don't know what circumstance. I don't want to badmouth anybody, but like, you know, and you don't know how fast people need to put things together. I'm like, that's just not good. It really lowers the sort of like experience of the whole book. So yeah, I think letters do not get nearly the attention they ought to.
I mean, Sandman, I think, is the best example of lettering. Every character had a different lettering style. So,
well, and both of you, and Todd, we'll get to you in just a moment. But like both, I love when we switch up the fonts. I love when I go, oh, dude, like get me fucking so cheesy excited about shit. Like when we just like the extra step of like, I didn't have to do this, right? Like the art is doing this, you know, itself, but like we're gonna switch up the font too, and the demon fonts and the creepy fonts and these things that like you guys just throw in. I just want you to know that like Blake Morgan appreciates that, and Benjamin, we're gonna go about We Are Scarlet Twilight 3. Like I got a little thing prepped for you here.
Oh,
and
okay.
we're gonna hit it. We're gonna hit it, right? Like, so this is We Are Scarlet, ladies and gentlemen, which is a comic that if your guys aren't backing on Kickstarter, you're fucking silly little fools, and I pity you because it's so good. It's so fucking good. All right,
that's gonna be a quote for number 4 when we do that campaign,
dude. The
on there.
Hey, you need a pull quote? I'll get you one, baby. Like I keep finding my name on comics, and like I want more of that. That's my new cocaine. Like I quit doing hard drugs so I can get pull quotes on physical issues of comics.
Nice.
I quit hard drugs for pull quotes. The Blake story.
Yeah, that's the pull quote, right?
That's the pull quote, exactly.
That's it right there.
Enter the story's hero, Captain Lancet, a 1930s all-American crime buster who accidentally creates the world's greatest villain before waking up a century in the future. He'll need to adjust a strange new world if he wants to overthrow the totalitarian vampire cult that dominates the future. And the villain's name is Madame Satanica, which is super fucking metal and badass. Like, this comic is so great. It is so great. Like, all of you, issue 3 is live on Kickstarter. You can buy the back issues. You can buy the back digital issues. You need to fucking get your little nerdy asses over to Kickstarter. You need to back this because it's so good. Like, oh, you think Batman is cool right now? Like, oh, you think fucking Spider-Man is cool right now? You think fucking Moon Knight is the hot tits right now? Like, no, Scarlet. We Are Scarlet Twilight is so fucking good. It's so good. It's so good. And the art is fucking dumb amazing. It just like, it's so good. You just like feel uncomfortable reading it. You're like, oh, what? Like, I'm not worthy to read this. Like, Benjamin, what the fuck are you, man? Like, you're
I don't know about all that, but I tried to do a good job.
I do. I know. I'm your host, and I know. How do you do this, man? Like, it's so crazy. You're throwing back to a previous age of comic book storytelling while modernizing it so wonderfully. You're very, you know what I really like about your comic is you're real fucking careful about your splash pages, and I really appreciate I really appreciate how careful you are with your splash pages. So like when they hit, it's like,
boom, I pay a lot of attention to that. Nice. I mentioned like the roller coaster aspect of, you know, pacing issues. I'm always on that, and I fiddle with that a lot. So I'm glad they're landing.
Dude, they're landing hard. They're landing like the fucking 747 on a fucking high school hallway, baby. That's what they're landing like.
Okay. Cool.
It doesn't even make sense. Like you're tearing down the building. It's
No, I
landing
was just thinking,
so
like,
hard.
are we landing on the roof and then the hallway?
I was trying to like opposite the throwing the hot dog down the hallway joke.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
it's like the opposite of that. Yeah. Anyway, this is why you guys write comics, and I'm your fucking podcast host. That's now you guys know. But no, man, it's so good, and the art is insane, and it's retro and modern simultaneously, and it's colored wonderfully, and the action sequence are wonderful, and it's a little humorous, and it's a little intense, and it's dude, like, what are you like? Where did you come from? Like, you're just this like normal dude who's making like crazy good fucking comics. Like, it's insane.
I try. Yeah, it was a collection of ideas I had for a while. Didn't really have, none of them were good enough on their own. At some point last year, I got an idea like, wait, this and this could fit together in a good way. And I was looking at some old Chip Kidd books, some Alex Ross Chip Kidd books, and then the Bat Manga book he did. And there's something about his design sense where he'll take the old stuff, and it's a modern take on it. It's a modern design, but you're looking at the old stuff, and he'll have really nice photography of it. You see the texture of the pages. And that was kind of the thing that clicked with me. There was this thing where like, all right, I really like how those designs of those pages look. And so like that just went right into like, well, I could take this idea, that idea, this idea, put it together, kind of start using all those old tools I mentioned, the way they did the word balloons, captions, fight scenes, even the way they go from scene to scene. I thought that's enough. There's like 3 good things there that were not good enough on their own that would be cool together, I think, hope. And that's kind of how it happened.
You also, every single issue, well, I've only read the 2 issues, so I'm like, every single issue, like there's like you've given me like 12 issues to read, but you like throw these really intense twists into each one. Like, I guess like we could give away the first one where the guns are fake, right?
The guns are fake. They're
the
fake for a while. Yeah.
Well, yeah, for a while. No, well, so you just spoiled. No,
Two's been out.
I'm trying not to spoil your shit.
Actually, I should be careful. The printer is having some trouble. The digital copies of 2 went out in early February. The issue's done. People have read it and posted about it. They've been having some trouble. My goal was, and this was kind of judging by their timeline of printing the last. This kind of gets into some Kickstarter logistics. I kind of took the timeline they printed issue 1 on, which was a much bigger print run than 2, and thought, okay, let's time it. So if it takes 3 weeks for them to do that, there's something about there. I want to be launching 3 when 2's hitting mailboxes, and that didn't happen. So some people might have been waiting to read 2 until the printed copy shows up. I don't want to spoil too much for them, but yeah, to get back to your thing, the guns are fake in issue 1. The Captain Lancet, the hero, has these 2 guns he uses. They're sort of ray guns, but it's a ploy. He's using them for other reasons.
And his name is Vlad, which is just great. I love it. I love it. It's Vlad. I love it. It's like, oh man.
Well, there's a good reason for it.
Oh, there's a great reason for it.
Yeah.
That's like the whole thing. But yeah, so each issue has this like really hard hitting twist. You jostle your audience. Like you jostle like a motherfucker. You're jostling motherfucker, man. Like you're just jostling left, you're jostling right, and it's good, man. It's so wonderful, and it aggravates me simultaneously, which I know I'm picking this up with the more and more Kickstarter people that I read, is like, why the fuck are you guys having a Kickstarter? Like, it aggravates me. Like these are things that like normative or not normative, but like publishers should be picking up. Like,
well, it should be out in stores later. Well, I got to get done with it, and then we start that process. But Red 5 is going to put this out after the campaigns are done for all 4. And there's a lot. We're going to put that in stores with them. But there's a lot of stuff in the Kickstarter that I'm going to make sure is only on the Kickstarter. We have a lot of the variant covers because I was to get to your point. You said earlier why you're on Kickstarter. The pandemic was slowing down publication for my other book, August, and I was getting kind of antsy. Really wanted stuff to happen. I found a solution for printing and shipping that worked all on its own, and thought maybe I could do this. Started trying to think of some ideas, and thought, well, this would be a good way to just keep myself from going insane while I'm waiting for August to get printed, and put it together. I was blown away by the support that it got. And the reason I put it on Kickstarter, aside from just having something to do where I didn't have to wait for a publisher to approve it or put it together, was I kind of thought it was sort of a niche idea. It's Golden Age comics. Not everybody loves that. I think there's a lot of references in there that if you weren't a comic book fan, a big comic book fan, you probably wouldn't even get. You'd be like, well, why is this like that? Why are the colors this way? Why are the captions that way? So I kind of thought it was a niche thing that really only comic book people would get. And I hope the story is strong enough to hang on its own if you don't get those things and just think they look cool. But that's kind of why I did it. I thought, A, it's a bit of a niche product, and then B, just it was something to do.
Hey, I just want to say,
what's up, Todd?
I just want to say, Benjamin, I love like the old Golden Age strips and all that, because you know what? It just is unrestrained imagination.
Exactly. Yeah. There's something about that era that just really pops. It still does.
It's just like, okay, well, who cares how that really works? Just put it in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, and that's actually one of the things we talked about Vlad earlier, the main character's surname or name. His surname is Vlad Kingsley is his alias, but a big part of it, and aside from all the visual things I'm picking up on, is the way that those old comics just would take anything. Oh, Moses is going to be Superman now. Like, just wrap it in a cape and throw it out there on its way. It's ridiculous. And that's kind of why I was like, well, I'm going to make this guy like the blondest. He's supposed to look like Buster Crabbe, who played Flash Gordon in the old serials. But you really just had a ridiculous, like, kind of an Americanization of things that were from all over the place. Thrown into a comic, put a costume on them, send them on their way, and that's one of the things that's actually a big subtext of the book. So that there's an energy to their stories, there's an energy to their art, and even though the art's incredibly crude in those old stories, I mean, there just is something about them. There's a great vibe, a lot of atmosphere.
No, dude, so, you're all about the vibes, and your retro throwback variants are like, dude, just.
Oh, I had a lot of fun doing those. A lot of fun.
What are you reading right now, man? Like, do you like modern comics?
I do. I don't have time. I basically read recaps of what's happening online. I'll see preview pages posted. The last time I was in the store, I was picking my wife up she takes the train to the city to teach at SVA in New York. So we go to the Peekskill station and have dinner on Friday nights. There's a comic store there.
Oh, you're from Peekskill?
I'm across the river from Peekskill.
Oh,
I'm in a place called Stony Point.
Okay.
Where are you from?
I'm from Bronxville originally.
Oh, okay, cool.
I never talk about this. Where is everybody from? What the fuck? I can't even talk. You guys got me too excited.
I'm from Cincinnati. I almost wore a Bengals hat, but I thought just to be sensitive to. I know you're a Kansas City fan, Blake. Decided not to do it.
Too soon. Good.
We lost anyway.
That's why. Yeah.
I'm a Giants fan. We suck. I know.
Yeah. I got the fucking. We have the best fucking quarterback in the NFL, and he loves to run backwards. Like, stop fucking running backwards, man.
It's so exciting when he does that, though.
Oh yeah, it's so exciting until he fucking falls down or gets tackled. Yeah, super exciting. No. That's awesome. That's awesome. No, because it's funny because it's and we'll talk about this when we come to Todd, but there's not a lot of like comics and sports crossover other than wrestling. Like comics and wrestling have this like really magical like mix, and we'll get to that when we talk about Todd, because that's what Todd's comic is about. But yeah, Ben, man, like your comic, man, is just awesome. Like it really shocked me, dude. Like it got me. It got me excited for the, like going back, but not as far back as where like when the punches get thrown and you get the pow. All right, we're gonna spoil this, and that's fine. This is in the first issue. This is the first issue when it's very. You have walked a line in the first issue to make it all ages, right? Like there's like you're
Yeah.
very
It's-
careful. There's
it's
no
good.
cursing. There's no
Yeah.
nudity. Like you know, like you're very careful in your first issue, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm gonna rip your fucking heart out, baby, and like there's
Yeah.
this scene where
There's
our
a fatality.
hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in a fatality, like he rips this motherfucker's heart out, and it hits so hard and so wonderfully, and after that, like is when things really start to take off, and you know we get there. You know, there's the time advancement, and these things happen, and ladies and gentlemen, like I just want to tell you, like we are Scarlet Twilight. If you like comic books, if you're just a fan of comic books, you have to fucking read this book. Like it's so beautiful. The colors are done amazingly well. The art is wonderful. The pacing is beyond great. The dialogue is great, and Ben just does it all himself. I mean, like when he feels like it, it's ridiculous. Like it's just fucking.
When I feel like, when I have time to.
Yeah,
As
it's
well.
like when I'm like, do you have kids?
No.
Okay, that's
We
why.
have,
That's
we
why
have-
the comic's
we
so
have
goddamn
2
good.
cats
He's
and 11
married, but he
chickens,
doesn't have
though.
kids.
So that takes up a little time.
All right,
But
all
they're
right.
fun.
In between,
yeah,
his,
just
in,
whenever-
in between his chicken.
When my
taking care of him.
regular job is not too overwhelming is when I fit in the pages.
Well, god damn it, man! You're just
Hoping to switch that up a little bit. in the
Yeah.
next few years.
Yeah, let's.
That'd be nice, right? That's the dream
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah,
That
You
is
can
the dream.
find a way to switch those
Yeah,
too.
just,
I think.
adjust. I don't want to get rid of the other stuff. I like that too. I would be sad if I wasn't animating, commercials and stuff. But
Keep the health insurance.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah, right. Like, that is important. All right, and so next up we're coming up on Todd, and we've put some sprinklings, right? We've talked to Todd's got every hot fucking shot comic book creator giving him a wonderful pull quote,
I
and
just saw
on
that.
top of
Scott
that he's
Snyder. Wow.
yeah, look,
That's
that's what I he messaged me on Twitter, and he was like, "Hey, check out my Kickstarter." And I was like, "Okay." And there's a Scott Snyder pull quote, and I was like, "What are you doing next Wednesday?" And he was like, "Well, I guess I'm coming on your show." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, you are, baby!" But like he's got this lovely bunch of pull quotes from the comic book medium and the wrestling medium, and it's well deserved. And just to give everybody just a quick fix of what Todd Mathy's got going on. It's called Disciple. It's got art by Jordan Dorenzo and Martin Plisco. It's got colors by Vlad Vox and also Martin Plisco, and it's got letters by Sean Reithart. And I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it again, guys. You ready?
Go ahead, do it.
Yesterday, Jesse Sampson was on top of the world. He's debuting at the Championship Wrestling Council. Today, his dreams are shattered. His girlfriend dumped him for another man, and the CWC is portraying him as a loser. Enter Mars, the god of war, who grants the ability to manipulate emotions. As his popularity grows, so does Mars's influence. And with television, the internet, and social media, that influence reaches dangerous levels, baby. Slam into a fucking Slim Jim, because this comic is everything you fucking wanted. So rad, baby. Todd, where the fuck did you come from? We talked about you worked with Dynamite before. You're not just, this isn't your first like tumble in the weeds, right? Like you're
Right. Yeah.
But like, how do you know all these wonderful people?
I was Scott Snyder's student.
You did a class with him when he was teaching.
Class with him. I did a
Like
workshop.
what recently for his Substack, or when he was like teaching college?
With his Substack, but I did one about 10 years ago. Too. Workshop with him. So
Cool, man.
So that's how I knew him, and I was an intern at Marvel. God, 20 years ago. I mean, so don't let this face fool you. So I've known some people, and I've worked around, talked to people, shown them my work, and as for the wrestlers, I just reached out and hoped for the best. I've always been a wrestling fan since the Mega Powers exploded, and I just love the fact that I get to actually do this story in this world, because it's such a unique world. it's such a unique world on its own when you read about the behind the scenes elements, and like because people used to actually try to kill the bad guys. Like they'd wait outside to get their hands on them. Ask Jim Cornette, who used to actually keep a horseshoe in his tennis racket to hit fans, so he could get away because they wanted to kill him because he was such an obnoxious prick. But going into like emotional manipulation, that's what wrestling really is. It's manipulating your emotions so that you're that even though you know that it's predetermined, some would say fake, you still want to see it. You still want to see this guy I like beat the crap out of this guy I hate. And then if the guy you hate cheats and wins, you're just like, fuck no, fuck you, ref. You can curse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's called the podcast. There's practices. It's like they gotta have another match. You rebook that match, and then like they'd be like, okay, yeah, they're gonna be fighting next month. Here's some tickets, or they'll be doing it at the next pay-per-view. So I really wanted to play in that, and people gave me the opportunity to do it, and I've written every page of it, and I'm loving it. I'm glad it's out there now.
The preview's awesome.
Yeah,
I really
dude,
like
it's
it.
so good. It's so good. And it's funny, like at the time that it's coming out right now, because like and you have a quote. You again, like you have a pull quote from John Lees, who's also writing a horror wrestling comic right now.
Great
And
book, by the
yours
way,
is
Crimson Cage.
it's great. Yeah, Crimson Cage is great, but yours is you think right when you say it, you're like, oh, you're writing another horror wrestling comic, but it's different.
Yeah.
It's different, and you're both pulling from different elements of wrestling culture and historical not or like weird, you're dealing with like the God of War, right? And John and John Lees is dealing with like Louisiana, backwoods culture, and so you guys are both pulling from totally different elements while succeeding in this weird medium of wrestling and comics. What is it? I want to know. Like, I used to be obsessed with wrestling as a kid, right? Like Razor Ramon, like bless your soul, rest in peace.
Rest in peace,
But like
Scott.
when like him and Goldust had like the weird like sexual tension thing going on, like
Goldust did that.
that's when I was into wrestling, right? And like and Diesel and all that, and Stone Cold is apparently still hot shit because he just made a whole bunch of scenes on the recent WrestleMania. But what is it, guys? Like, do you guys have the answer? Like, what is it about wrestling and comics that there's so much crossover? There's so much celebration in between these two fandoms.
I think it's because just the larger than life aspect of the characters. And, what are the things we like about superheroes? And I think a lot of those stories is these are guys who get things done. They are the guys that are going to be like, I'm going to jump in the fire and come with me or not. I'm coming in, and even if it hurts me or kills me, I'm going in and I'm going to, stop whatever. I'm going to solve whatever problem. They're take charge people. And wrestlers, the way they're portrayed in many ways in real life, are take charge people. I mean, if you really read like the wrestling, like about wrestlers in the past, they got fired for losing bar fights. And so like, it's like, when Stone Cold was just like, I'm gonna whip your ass. That's it, bottom line. And then he'd attack, or he'd do something to Vince McMahon that would piss Vince McMahon off. He's like, yeah, I did that. And guess what? I'm coming out. What are you going to do? Stop me. And I think that, people are drawn to that. They like seeing guys that will, kick ass. And, and women that will kick ass. I mean, and people enjoy it, and they want to see someone like, and they want to see, okay, so you've got this guy, let's throw this in front of him, let's throw that in front of him, let's throw these people. And I think that's why, comics and wrestling is such a crossover.
Yeah.
As a writer, do you feel like because there's, I mean, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus here, right? Like there's scripted elements of wrestling, and that's what we love.
What?
Well, that's what some of us love and some of us hate, right? Because it's like no writer can ever do things perfectly, but this scripted element and this over the top these over the top attitudes and heroics, and when we think about that as with real people, right? And then we think about that in like the scripting that you do in your comics, and how you blend this with like Aries and this, but also like your comic is over the top, and you're blending in this element of the God of War, and there's this like this supernatural element, right? But it also starts off with like this guy is like he's achieving his dream, but he's also getting dumped simultaneously.
Yep.
So you like put us in this weird emotional place where everybody is able to emotionally attach to your character, because we've all been dumped, we've all been hurt, we've all had to pick ourselves up from nothing, right? And the idea of like, man, wouldn't it be nice if like if like I was having a bad day and the fucking God of War was like, hey Blake, fuck you, like carve this symbol into your arm and tell everybody to fuck off and change your life. Like I kind of want that, right? Like I would love to have that. So you have made in your comic script, you have like in this craziness, you have made a universal acceptance in your audience, which is really smart. And I think that's why you have all these great pull quotes, because you found this really weird area where you can lure in your audience and strengthen the elements of your plot through just universal emotions that we've all experienced. And you have these people that also write that can identify with that. Your audience identifies with that. And it's really cool, man. Like I'm really excited for it. And I know nothing about current wrestling other than like what I see on Twitter, right? Because it's like a few times a week when wrestling happens, I see all these wrestling tweets and I'm like, oh, cool. And like, like I don't know what's going on, but it sounds neat. And you've done that and embedded that into your plot of this new comic, and you're finding success in it. You're almost funded, or you're real close, or you were fun. Yeah, you're like you're real close.
Distance.
Yeah,
real close.
So like what? I actually almost thought you were a I almost thought you like wrote for rest. Like I thought you were like one of the writers, like in the writing rooms. Like that's kind of what I thought.
My friends all said I should.
I feel like you should. I feel like you could easily like use this as your resume. Like here's this comic, hire me.
I did when I years and years ago actually go up to WWE headquarters and submitted a resume. They did let me submit a writing sample.
Wow.
But they didn't take it.
No, fuck that. We're done. We're done with wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. Should have given Todd a chance. You just lost your whole audience.
That's it. That's it.
That's it. Done.
I mean, but yeah, actually, and the thing is, as Jesse, a lot of it is he wants to prove himself to Claire. He wants to prove himself, like, hey, I'll show you, And as things go along, you're going to learn that maybe, like, there were certain other things, in their relationship. It's not like, he's an abusive guy, because he's not. Unless you called him fake or, like, hit on Claire. Then he'd beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
But, because he's that type of guy. I mean, like, he's an old school wrestling guy. You could say he's fake in a bar. He's going to be like, you want to see how fake it is? And he'll trap you in, like, the sugar luck and maybe break your arm. But he like, it's just like, and at the same time, as things go on, and hopefully once we get funded, we're gonna have some extra pages, so more of that can kind of come out. Is that there is going to be a collision course where, he and Claire are eventually going to meet again. They're going to have to talk to each other, and then there's the other element of the new boyfriend. And Claire knows, when you read the first few pages, that Jesse doesn't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
And that if Jesse gets his hands on him, there is no question he'll hurt him. And we're going to see what happens there. But it all kind of what was great about it is it all kind of like weaved together, like kind of as a wheel. Because you're going to see the actual wrestling angles in the book. You're then going to see Jesse's emotions behind the scenes. You're going to see the behind the scenes politics. And then you're going to see people noticing, something strange. Like Jesse's fans become a violent bunch. And we're going to talk about, like, if he, like, is he responsible for this? And then maybe you're going to see some people being like, there's something strange going on here. Let's investigate as the story goes on. And I really like, it just all kind of came together. And I mean, this really is, like, I've pitched it to a lot of places, but this really is, I think, like, the comic I always wanted to write. And I really appreciate everybody, like, supporting it, because I really want to put this out.
Yeah. No,
Is
man,
is the wrestling portrayed as if it were quote unquote real, or like as the way the business like actually is run?
Yeah, I had the same question. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always curious with how you handle something like that when telling like wrestling stories.
Yeah.
We handle it the way the business is run.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, like, someone once asked me when I posted it in the workshop, well, why isn't he like MMA? And I'm like, because in MMA, like, you can have all the hype behind you in the world. One punch, you're knocked out, and then you're yesterday's news. In wrestling, you can keep it going. And you're going to actually see the cutthroat politics of wrestling. Because there are other wrestlers, they don't like that this God of War guy is suddenly coming up. Especially when they're building to a show at Yankee Stadium. And he's about to take and interrupt the big storyline they were doing. So we deal with that. We also deal with things like killing heat, which is where a wrestler gets heat that's so, like, insane that fans are trying to kill him. Like, I don't know. Do you guys remember when Hulk Hogan turned heel?
Yeah.
Yep, I actually do. I'm not a big wrestling fan or pro wrestling, but I remember that.
Remember how there was all that garbage being thrown in the ring?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like, this is where I wanted to really go back and show that people got into this and that people can get into this. And when a guy can manipulate emotions to get you angry because he's getting beat up, you can have a riot on your hands.
Yeah, it actually reminds me. I'm a bit more new school. I actually also used to do like a little bit of pro wrestling for like 2 years. Actually, yeah, which is funny. Yeah, but I remember once you said the thing with Hulk Hogan is that like they didn't really try it to make it that way, but it just kind of went that way. In that ECW, like for one night, and it was, I think, Rob Van Dam versus John Cena. And
yes.
Then everyone hated John Cena to a point where like they just threw stuff at him and like they just booed everything. That doesn't matter what he did. That I think like really speaks to like how, because again, like you also asked like why people like comics and wrestling so much, because I think like with all sports there are stories there. But I think like with wrestling, pro wrestling specifically, it's like all those stories, but turned to 11 basically. Yeah. And also like you have more space to do crazy sports ideas of like, instead of like having teams, there's a character that's actually from the dead and is like, it's legit. Like you don't question it, but it is still sport. So I really enjoy like wrestling, and unfortunately I don't really watch it too much anymore. But yeah, I used to be a huge fan.
I don't have time. Like someone told me the other day, there's like 3 or 4 like events a week. Like if you really want to like keep up with everything, and it's like, podcast and I have this show and I have to do all these things and also prep. Like I read all your guys' comment. Now, Joel, when we get to you, I have not finished your trade. Don't hate me, but I read a chunk of it and I will finish it because it's really good. But like I've like I have to prep for these interviews. Like I want to impress you guys too. Like when I talk to you, I want you guys to know that like I gave your shit a chance and I'm ready to talk about it. And so wrestling is this whole other deal where it's like you have this whole culture and these events and weekly episodes to like keep up with. And so it's a lot. But I'm so intrigued. Like my friends are into it and it's blowing up. Like it's always been popular, but like it's very much like gaining popularity again. And it's again, like we've mentioned this, like it's embedded in comic book culture. Like it's like everybody, there's this weird crossover element. And
oh no, I agree with you. And also at the same time, there's world building in it.
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
And I do like, and this is one of my favorite parts about Disciple, is that of everything going on in wrestling, of everything going on in your comic, and we have the God of War, and we have this really creepy element, and this whole like we get snippets of it of society turning in on itself, right? And there's this like kind of possession, this like this it's not a demonic possession, but it's like the Ares is like his vibe is manipulating those around him, and society is changing. But what's fucking crazy about your comic, dude, is like all this shit is happening and I'm thinking of like the soap opera aspect of it, right? Like the guy and his girlfriend, and she's kind of cheating. She's like sort of cheating on him, right? Like she's like ending one relationship and another relationship has already started, right? And there's this like that being betrayed, there's that betrayal, right? And it's like we've all felt that, and so like all this is happening, and then I love, and you've mentioned this, how you're including the wrestling politics of it all, of like when he gets mad at the writer and he's like, what, you wrote me like that, like fuck you. And like there's so many things going on, there's so many layers in this narrative, and you think, right, you're going to be like obsessed with like this God of War aspect, and he's like turning society on each other, and like these cops are fucking like turning their guns on each other. But what do you like leave the narrative like feeling uncomfortable? Like, man, like what's going on with this chick though? Like what's going on with like, and I love that. Like as a like you're oddly like plucking these heartstrings and pulling out this romanticism and this like traditional he said, she said kind of dramatics, which I think it makes it more real also. But it's very smart writing.
Thank you.
You have a lot of threads that you're playing with, and you're very good at displacing them and like giving them agency at different points of the narrative that like lure us into all these different aspects. And so like, yeah, Todd, you're just a fucking smart writer, man. And like, and there's so much cool shit going on, and I'm super excited. And what kind of time frame are you working with on this narrative? Because this is your first issue, right? And you're like, you're crowdfunding to, and you've we got about almost 3/4 of the issue ish go like that are finished. Yep. You're crowdfunding to finish it. Ideally, things going your way. The world spins wonderfully. Like how many issues you doing with this story?
It's a 6-issue story.
Okay.
So what I'm hoping is to get the first issue out in July and get the stuff out to backers then. And then we'll go from there, seeing, how much, because I've looked at some things, like I looked over my scripts and I realized I can retool some scenes like to be like the end of this first issue to take you into the second issue, and maybe we'll do like bigger sized issues.
Okay.
But that right now is the plan. I'm hoping like once we are funded, we can work towards getting like extra pages to set up more of the other things. And I feel like then once that happens, we'll do another campaign to fund maybe a bigger sized issue or so. I mean, if we need to, and just go from there.
Well, I'm excited for it. Like, I saw the Scott Snyder pull quote, and that's what got me, because you gave me a link to your Kickstarter. You were like, hey, check this out, and I was like, okay, and geniusly, as a good narrative structural writer person, like, you drop your Scott Snyder pull quote at the start, and then you get into it. But man, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, yes, you have the pull quotes and you have people that have your back, but your narrative speaks for itself. And I'm gonna tell you that right now. Like, I don't want to cup you up too much. I don't want to fucking lift you up too close to the sun. I don't want your wings to melt. Like, don't get too cocky. But your fucking narrative speaks for itself, man. And it's good. It's good, and it's fun, and it's romantic in a weird way. And you have all these elements like that are very much working towards your goal. And so your funding part too, like we talked about earlier, you're very close, and I'm very excited for more people to check out your campaign, because it's cool. And it's just like, and I'm not a wrestling guy. Like, I'm not a wrestling guy, and I'm very much into this, and I'm invested. Like, I want this story, and I want it to finish, and I will back it. Like, people
Awesome.
that listen to me, like, I will back Todd's story. And if you don't fucking follow me in doing that, and if we don't get to finish this, like, I'm gonna go on a Blake's Budge fucking rampage, and you guys are gonna like me. So I'm gonna get angry because I want the story to finish, because it's very good. So yeah, Todd, man, like, this is cool, and I dig it, and I love the supernatural elements, and I love the art, and I love the creepiness and the violence. But I also love when you bring it back in, and it's just like, I want this love story to come. So I want this love story to go somewhere, right? Like, I've been there before, right? Where it's like, right. Like, it's just this universal ache, and this, like, this tug of the heartstrings that you've lashed your audience onto, which is real smart, real cool. And you're doing it in a different way. Like, this is like, it's not a Lifetime narrative for the holidays that your mom watches,
No,
right?
No.
But also, like, at the end of all of it, you're like, man, I just want them to, like, be happy and in love with each other. And it's so weird. Like, these, like, the way you pull your audience into these different areas, it's very smart. It's very cool. And your artists and colorist and letter are all talented. And you got a solid fucking book on your hands, man. And, like, I really hope I so hope you get to go to I want all 6 issues. I want the trade. I want to be part of that, like, 6th issue Kickstarter, like, pay the extra money for the completed trade, right? Like, that's the goal, right? Like, one through 5, and then issue 6 drops, and you're like, hey, pay an extra $20 and get this fucking trade. Like, that's the jam, baby. Like, and then I think you got the sauce. You got the sauce for the pasta, basically.
Yeah, I think solid, Blake, is what you said. Like, that's exactly what I thought reading the preview here on the Kickstarter. Is like, every character's, you introduce basically 3 characters in some depth. You totally establish what they're after, what's driving them, and you really don't waste any time. He meets the supernatural element in this. Like, it doesn't get too drawn up in it, but you know what that guy's after. He's not too phased by it. He's like, well, this is what I'm after. Let's work together. It's just really, really a good setup.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good job, Todd.
Thanks, man.
You crazy bastard. Man, you're good. And last but not least, Mr. Joel, Mr. winterized in the heat of summer. Mr.
Yes.
Like,
This is a cool book, I gotta say.
Dude, it's so fucking cool. It's so cool. We're gonna go. Hold on. You were actually we started off in a weird place, and now I'm gonna get my notes pulled up. All right, you guys.
I just like to say before we get off wrestling completely that my grandmother never forgave Larry Zbyszko for turning on Bruno Sammartino. I just feel like I need to put that out there into the world. Never forgave him.
Wow.
Until the day she died, she never forgave him for that one.
Man, I need a cooler grandma. Like my grandma.
She was the coolest.
I learned how to. My grandma taught me how to make fried bologna and cheese sandwiches, which some people scoff at, but fuck you, because fried bologna and cheese sandwiches.
That sounds delicious.
That's good as shit. Anyway, it's so.
My father told the story that my grandmother ran to the ring at the original Boston Garden. He claimed, I cannot back this up. He claimed that's why they started putting up crowd control gates at the Garden. But that was my grandmother. She was a total badass.
Crazy. That is not the normal grandma story that you hear. Like my grandma story was like
that was a very normal grandma story for my family.
Yeah, she started the whole like rumors about fans going mad at like wrestlers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. Shit, man. Yeah, well, that's what we learned from Blake's Buzz. Like, I just didn't have a cool grandma. That's fine. That's fine. She taught me how to make biscuits and gravy and taught me how to. You know what's funny?
That's pretty good too. That's pretty good.
My sister and I always joke around because my grandma. This is how we grew up. Like, you know, like I'm a big dude, right? Like I'm a girthy boy, and so she would always be like, you know, you're fat. You know, you're gaining weight. Now go in the kitchen. Do you want a second fried bologna and cheese sandwich? And like, so she'd always give you shit about being big, and then she'd be like, go in the kitchen and get some cookies. Like,
well, do you want grandmas do?
Right? Yeah, like
they
pretty much. This is universal.
All right, so there's this comic that I recently found called Forever Winter, and I'm just gonna read.
I'm familiar with it.
Have you heard about it before? All right, so
I've heard about it. Yes.
30 years after the end of the world, Forever Winter follows a large cast of characters as they live and die in a broken landscape where winter never ends. Somewhere between the dusty trails of Peckinpah, the parts of Lost that made sense, and the clashing steel of Kurosawa's honorable samurai, you'll find the stories of regret, revenge, and redemption that made up this 300-page collected edition. This is the volume includes the 5 issues of the main series and 14 backup stories that expand and offer more insight into the world and characters of Forever Winter. Like, also just like 14 fucking backup stories, man. Like, are you fucking crazy?
I am crazy.
You are crazy, but it's so good. Like, and it's funny because you've been posting all week. You've been like going through your backlogs, and you found like other stories that like you like forgot about. You're like, I'm sure you didn't forget about them, but you've been sharing art that's like phenomenal in these like other stories that are so great. And this whole idea of like this post-apocalyptic world, and there's snow everywhere, and there's this fucking creepy guy who's fucking murdering women, and there's a revenge tale, and there's also people just trying to find a better life, and you have these really strong characters, which also come with really strong art that is full of emotion and action, and it's just fucking exciting. And I'm gonna pull back. I'm gonna bring Carl's comment back here. 12 pages, like just 12. You've got like 350 fucking pages. And it's so good, dude. Like
thank you.
It's insane. And again, like, you know, I when I heard about you on Kevin and Will's show on Explain Yourself, I looked you up, and I was so impressed with the art. Like, the black and white art was just fucking phenomenal and blew me away. And the premise sounded great. And I bought the 5 issues, and you sent me like stickers and shit, and you like sent me a DM and thanked me, and I was like, whatever, man. Like, I'm just buying your goddamn comic. Like, but you know, like, so like your customer service element is top tier. But also your story fucking delivers, and your skill fucking delivers, and you just like, you are the snow that is softly falling down onto my boring life, coating it in a new pale way that I just wasn't ready for, man. And like, again, like, you know, like I talked about with Benjamin, it's just kind of not fair that you guys are able to do all this yourself. You know, and you spent some time, like again, we mentioned this earlier, like 300 pages, 10 years of storytelling. So like, this is a decade in a book that is your life, right? Like but you could tell you poured your fucking soul into this shit.
I mean, that's a decade for that book. I've been developing it since I was in, you know, Hubert School, 2003 through 2006. So it's been 10 years to get that trade done, but I've been working on this project for a very, very long time. And
can I ask you something about that? My other
Yeah,
story,
go ahead.
August, I was developing for, I think, about 2011, 12. And it just never quite took shape until it got to what it's going to be published this year. It got really hard for me to just keep track of the story because I'd be rewriting it. And I'd be like, oh, wait a second. I didn't establish this in this version of the story. Or I'd know more about the characters than I put in the drafts. And it almost made it 10 times harder than to just write a story from scratch.
Absolutely. And so while I was in school, I was developing the book. And then when I graduated in 2006, I launched it briefly as a webcomic. Quickly learned that it was not made to be a webcomic. You cannot take a book that's supposed to be a comic and then just be like, oh, this is a webcomic now, I'm going to release a page a week. They're completely different ways to deliver a story. So around like 2009, I said, as much as it's going to pay me to do this, I have to start over. And I have to like take everything I've developed these last couple of years, and I have to, because there were so many characters and other things that I had come up with. But, you know, I was like, I'll introduce this later. You know, we'll save this for later. It's like later might never come. So I had to start over. And the version of the book that's now out is the result of that, like burning everything I had and just being like, all right, page 1, panel 1, here we go. Let's do this.
No, that's what I had to do with August, and is the title of the other comic, and it got really hard. Just the logistics of it. Wait a second, this guy can't just walk on screen or on panel. You know, I need to say something about him or make it cool that you don't know something about him. And that became really tough to manage, more so than if it had just been something I had, you know, recently come up with.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny now because at this point now I have to worry about continuity. Because like I do so many backup stories that I have to make sure it fits into the timeline, and you know, even like, oh, at what point does that character have short hair versus long hair? It's a great problem to have.
Same thing.
Yeah, it's very interesting to be at that point where I'm like, okay, when does the story take place? All right, what, you know, it's I didn't think I'd ever really, you know, get to that point, but it's really fun.
Yeah, I'm including I did another intro scene for that comic. And I'm including it all in a stretch goal for We Are Scarlet Twilight once we hit 500 backers. But I actually had it where another scene I'd written and decided not to use did work in continuity. So I kind of took the first 12 pages of the upcoming August comic, this 12-page scene from a previous version that I never used. I'm like, wait, this lines up perfectly. I can still use it. And I was surprised because so many other versions, like, it wasn't this version was cool, but this hadn't happened, or this wasn't going to be a thing in that draft. And some of it still actually worked, which I was glad I could, you know, look back on and get a hold of. But yeah, that was
you
so
had mentioned
hard to keep track of.
Yeah, you had mentioned something earlier with your book that it was like 3 different ideas that you kind of put together. And the New Forever Winter story I'm working on now was actually like 3 short stories that they did not work on their own, and then I kind of put them away for a little while, and then I came back to them and I was like, oh, these 3 could actually go together and be like one shot that I think would actually really work. I think sometimes you gotta be willing to kind of walk away from it for a little while and then come back with it with fresh eyes and just be like, oh wait, no, there is something here. I just have to figure out how to put it together.
So like I just want to like ask, so basically there were like 3 stories you had, but then you put them away, then you realized they'd all fit into this world that you had created, and you decided to set it in there.
They were always supposed to be part of the world, but they were like 3 separate shorts. Or sometimes I'll just have an idea for a story where it's be like, oh, it takes place at the airport. Even like something as simple as that takes place at like the abandoned airport, and then it'll be like in my notebooks and I have other artists who do backup stories. A lot of my friends have done backup stories. So I do have like notes and files on potential backup stories. So I was there's this one that I'd wanted to do for a while, but it was only like a 5-pager. So then I just couldn't get it to work for whatever reason, where I was like mentally or whatever at the time. It couldn't work. And so I put it on the back burner. And then when I was looking to do this, I realized that the 3 of them together with a little, square peg round hole, I could put these 3 stories together. So that's how that happened. But they were always meant to be in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, I also had a question about, because you said that it is a collected edition. So
Yep.
you self-publish some of those stories first, and then you just like round it all up together in a hardcover.
Yep.
Or?
I self-published every the 5 main issues, 1 issue that was just 3 short stories. Me and my friends, we have a company called Stockpile Comics, and we started doing a line. Becky Cloonan released a great series of mini comics, Wolves, the Mire, and Demeter, and we like fell in love. We fell in love with those books, and we were like, what if we did like a line of stories where it was just like mini comics, unrelated mini comics, and then we all love physical media, and we love Criterion, so we were like, what if we did a line of unrelated mini comics that had like branding like Criterion. And one of the first one I did was Forever Winter Story, which completely was against what the line was about, because it was supposed to be something you could sell at a con just on its own, a little mini, and I made sure it was so deep in continuity that no one could enjoy it without reading everything else.
Well, to kind of say that, but like your cover, it does so much so elegantly. Just the cover.
Oh, thank
you. It's very, you can tell it's like high scale. It's really, I don't want to say artsy, but it's a great design. That tagline under the title, and then the slide, the illustrations you have there, you're not overwhelming us by any stretch, but we're getting so much information out of that. So it really is like, I can imagine selling it really easily, because you're just really good at giving us, hey, this is what you're going to get. There's a lot there.
I can only take so much credit for the cover. It's based on the poster for the Peck and Paw movie, The Wild Bunch. It's a homage to that. So I appreciate that. I can only take so much credit. They did most of the heavy lifting for me beforehand.
I've been there before. I did a variant cover for the August thing. I just was fooling around with it. I made it look like the old James Bond paperbacks from the 60s. And I had a few comments like, oh, it's an awesome design. I'm like, no, I didn't really come up with this. It's an homage, but like it's don't think I'm trying to take credit for the whole thing.
Hey, that's part of what great writing is, though, right? Is writing and art is embracing the things that came before us and finding inspiration in things that came before us. So there, it's that's part of the game, right? Is if you can find that and utilize it and make it new and make it current, like that.
Hey, you know what they always say? Steal from one source, it's plagiarism. Steal from many, it's research.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we all steal shit. Like what? Like I'm the first live streamer that ever interviewed comic creators.
Wait,
like
you're not?
no, I just am better at talking to people than some people are, like, and luckily, like with you guys tonight, like I don't have to say much. Like you guys just are fucking like saying cool shit. And I'm just sitting here like nodding. Like there's just, you find talent and bring people together, and crazy shit happens. Like that's part of the cool part of the world we all live in. This weird nerdy environment.
Hey,
Yeah.
I mean, like, Shakespeare stole. I mean, like, he retold stories.
He
Neil
stole a
Gaiman-
lot. We're pretty sure he stole a lot. People just don't talk about it.
He
just
may
did
not
it
even
better.
have written his own stuff. So
Yeah.
Hey,
might have been
he just
kind of
did
a-
it better. I mean, and hey, Neil Gaiman retold Shakespeare. You just did it, very well.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I mean,
I think you
We Are
just have,
Scarlet
I think you
Twilight
have to
is
be
all-
honest about.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
You just have to be honest about the things that influence you. There's no shame in that.
Definitely.
I think the thing is when people try to, when somebody's like clearly influenced by an artist or a writer and they pretend they've never heard of them, or they're not willing to acknowledge kind of the things that came before them. Just be honest about like the things that inspired you. There's no shame in that. We're all inspired by different things.
Yeah, I will say.
I was open about it. I'm like, yeah, it's Transformers meets Disney. That's it.
Well, that's the thing about comics is like I think more than movies and more than novels, like it really is kind of a community in the sense that like everybody's building on something else. Frank Miller does like Sin City and some other things, and everybody draws like that for a little bit. It really is almost this like grand collaboration in a sense, even though everybody's doing their own little thing. And I think it's just I think it has to do with the size of the comics industry, that we're all seeing what everybody else does and remixing it. And it's kind of, we all have our own little parts to play, but it is kind of this ongoing evolution, which is a fun thing to be a part of.
Yeah. And Miller even admits he stole from Eisner.
Oh yeah.
But I will say it's also important to say, because it happened to me. Well, another thing about like my life, I also like make some music on the side. So like sometimes like you just the inspirations come subconsciously. Like you don't even think about them until someone says, "Hey, that looks like that." Then you're like, "Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense, right?"
Yeah.
now,
Mm-hmm.
So like sometimes it is good to like give credit, but it also like, I don't know. I just wanted to point that out, and also I wanted to say
absolutely.
and also I wanted to say I saw Dominic give me a shout out. So he's actually the one that I'm working on the graphic novel trilogy with IDW with. So good to see you here, Dom. Yeah.
What music do you play, AJ?
So I don't really play. I actually rap a little bit and sing. So so like I usually do hip hop and R&B and pop, I guess, music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joel, I got a question for you, Joel.
Sure. I'm pretty sure it's your show.
Is it? I don't even know anymore, man. I'm here for you guys. But like, I feel like when I was reading what I've read so far of your book, snow is hard to draw, and it's like when it's coming down and when it's coating everything. I feel like as an artist, it's maybe harder to get your landscapes to stand out, get your settings to stand out on top of that winterized world. So like, why did you do that to yourself? Like what made you want to say like everything's covered in snow, everything's covered in white, and then not only that, you're like, I'm not going to color anything, it's going to be straight black and white. And then because I feel like you put a lot more pressure on yourself to get these tapestries to stand out and look unique, and to get the people to stand out amongst all this. And it's all black and white, and you do it so well, and you do it so organically. But I also feel like that's just me seeing that as a reader. Like I feel like you creating that was like, I feel like you were like up late some nights and you were just like, why the fuck did I do this? And now I have to take all these extra steps and to because your panels are also detailed, man. Like you're a very detailed artist, and you never take the easy way out on backgrounds and stuff. And
I don't. I wish I did sometimes.
I bet you do. I bet you fucking do. But like,
I mean, the
so
fact is,
where
I
did the
just can't
snow-
draw feet.
Is that it? You're just like,
That's it.
I can't draw feet.
So.
I can fucking make it snow, but I can't.
Yeah, that's it.
Feet are
No,
It's the Liefeld curse.
the Liefeld curse. Yeah, I just can't draw feet. I was like, what the world with no feet? Honestly, like that stuff, like drawing snow, that's almost like I just shut my brain off. That's like a night where I take my brush, my brush and my ink, and I just ink that panel, and I just shut my brain off, and it's just me making lines and creating shapes, and it just, it gets itself done. As for the backgrounds, I use like, it's set in Boston. I love Boston. So that part, that's just me like wanting to do justice to the city. So it's like, if I'm drawing Harvard Square in Cambridge, I want to come correct, and I want to bring it to life. That's my city. I don't live there, but that was always, when I was growing up, that was the city, was Boston. So
Oh wow.
I just love it, and I love those like little things.
I assumed that you did live there. Like I thought.
I mean, I'm on the South Shore of Massachusetts. I'm about 30 minutes from Boston. So.
Okay. So you're close. You're not like, it wouldn't be like it would be like if I made, because I'm in Kansas City. Like if I made a comic and I was like, yeah, we're in South Carolina, and I just always loved South Carolina, and I just put myself on those cobblestone streets and fucking crazy skinny rich people houses. I always wanted to live there. Like my family and I went on a vacation there like a long time ago, and I was like, man, if I ever made it, I would live here. And now I'm like, well, that's not gonna happen. So we're gonna stay in Kansas City and grow up here. But it's crazy, man, because your backgrounds, your setting, it's so ingrained, and like I said, like it's so natural. Like your panels they're like busy but don't feel busy, and I respect your attention to detail, and it's so intense that you do all that and keep track of this wide cast of characters that you have, and all their individual stories and how these different things tie in together. It's a lot, but it works. And I'm really glad that you like hustled and put in the extra effort, because it makes it there's not a lot of comic books out there right now that are doing what you're doing. It's just dude, you to make like a successful post-apocalyptic tale, the pressure on you as a creator to do that dystopian tale, right? Like you have to stick out. You have to have like the great characters. You have to have like these great plot points. You have to do so much extra shit to succeed in that kind of narrative, and you do that. And like, good for you, man.
I said on Twitter once, it might be the only smart thing I ever said on Twitter. I said, if you gave 10 creators Forever Winter, like some people would do better, some people would do worse. Nobody would do exactly what I'm doing. And that's what I love about my book. I feel like if you look at it, it's the book that only I could do. That's how I look at it.
And
well, I'm glad you're doing what you do, baby. Like, it's good, Joel. It's good. And I'm not just saying that because you sent me a free book, but I appreciate it. And more of you guys should send me free stuff. But we'll get into that later in the green room. What's up, bearded bro? Thanks for tuning in. But no, like I just it's very all you guys do this, and we've talked about that. Like you guys all tackle different elements of your narrative in different ways, and that's why you're succeeding, I think. And I like to think that's why I chose you all to come on the show and to talk about stuff. Because like, if you had a boring comic and if you were fucking doing everything like everybody else is doing, like I don't really want to talk to you. No, I don't want to sound like a dick, but like we like I want my show to succeed. I want to have good creators on here, but you know, like how am I going to talk to you guys for 2 hours if you guys are writing boring comics? And the answer is
Right.
it's not. We're not gonna. We'd have a real fucking boring show, and no one would tune in. And so like I'm excited that you guys are telling these stories, and you're telling these stories. You're telling stories in areas that other people are telling stories, but you're telling them in your own way, and you're able to stand out amongst the masses, right? You're all doing that very well.
Well, I think that's. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was going to keep rambling. You're fine.
Oh, I was going to say, like, I think the cool thing about doing it on Kickstarter is you can just do it, and maybe you don't even have time to think about, like, is this a good idea? Should I do it? You just kind of go out there and do it, and then you're stuck with having to finish it. But I think with a lot of the stuff, and with Scarlet Twilight too, I'm not sure there's a good elevator pitch for Scarlet Twilight if it wasn't done. It's like, oh yeah, it's Golden Age. Okay, cool. Like, I'm sure editors at every different place out there get that. And I think with Kickstarter, you can just kind of do it. And I think a lot of times too, the entertainment value of something that I've read a lot of comics in the last couple of years that are like, I can see why this got made. This was a good pitch. This was like the paragraph log line sounded awesome, and it's a good idea. But do I really want to stick with it for like 4 or 5 issues? I'm like, kind of not. The entertainment value of it runs out. Whereas I think when you just have like an idea that's solid, but you have a good way of telling it, you're going to stay with that. I mean, and with stories I'm reading, I stay with that, even if it's not the best elevator pitch. And I think like if you look at Batman now, and I'm not going to rip on it, but I can see at times they go a little bit off of what I think most people want to see. I think people kind of just want to see sometimes like Batman solving crimes. But how can you pitch that story to an editor and say, well, I'm just going to like have him fight the Mad Hatter and figure out it's the Riddler's fault or something? Like, it's not a good pitch, but that could be an awesome story. And it's kind of what you want to see. If you look at Batman the Animated Series, those stories are great and they're classic. And I mean, almost every one is a home run. At the same time, not all of them. I mean, I can see an editor arching an eyebrows, like, oh, another one of these. It's like not that good a pitch, but it's a good story. And I think Kickstarter lets you just do that. Like, I'm just going to do this my way. And there's enough there, I think, to be really sustainable in terms of finishing a story. Just, I think the take on the story can be as good as the paragraph that describes, well, okay, this isn't that interesting. And that's that I'll watch, 30 James Bond movies that are practically the same thing. So, like sometimes it's just how you get there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been 8 Rocky movies that are all essentially the same movie, but
and they're all awesome.
They're all great.
Yeah. I had a question for you, Benjamin, actually. I had a question. So about about the book. So do you have any like overarching themes throughout the issue, or like every issue has its own theme? Like what's
it's an ongoing story. It's gonna be 4 issues. I don't know if I have themes in the sense. And Joel, we mentioned earlier, like that I kind of bashed a few ideas together. I had an idea about like a vampire hunter ending up in a cyberpunk future where everybody was vampires. And he was, like on paper, he's Van Helsing. He's a hero. Really, he's like the only jerk running around trying to kill people in a society that's moved on to this thing. I thought, well, that's ironic. It's not that good. It's kind of like I said, the idea where it's like, well, that's a decent enough idea in a sentence, but it's not. I don't think I want to stay with it that long. So basically,
there's like the germ of an idea in there.
Yeah, and I'm like, I just don't know if there was enough value there for an entire story. But once I combined that with the Golden Age, I wanted to use the Golden Age visual / storytelling elements in the way they cut from scene to scene. Like sometimes Batman in an old comic would just walk into a room and like they just say, and then Batman, 20 minutes later, Batman found this thing. Like, well, that's cool because I didn't really want to see 5 panels of him like lifting up the covers of the bed. No, it's not there. Opening a desk. No, it's not there. But at the same time, you have to say he did it. Otherwise, it's like he's not that good a detective. He's just lucky he found it in the first try. So it was cool to just be like, yeah, I could just cut to that. I can just cut to the end of the fight and get to something cool. So I had that thing, and then the real, I think the thing that really made it all the straw that stirs the drink was to take like the way they would do things in the Golden Age, just take like the story of Moses and make that Superman. It's it's kind of an American, in a very good way, I think, arrogance, to just do those things, to take them and repackage them and throw it out there. So I kind of took an old myth that did have some foundation that was popular in the 30s, and say, let's just throw him in like some tights and make him an all-American guy, and figure out what's the best way to do that. So as far as a theme, I did want it to be like, I have all those elements, the vampire thing, that somebody began out of step, out of their time, the all-American thing, and whether that's good or not. And I kind of treated those as, I don't know if I weigh in on them being good or bad in the story, but I did kind of say, okay, I've got these 5 things spread out on the table, almost on a stage, and wanted to say, well, what's the most satisfying way for this thing to have an arc? The sort of 1940s patriotism as it manifested in comics from that time. Okay, what would be the best up and down for that? What would be the best up and down for the vampire plotline? And that's, so I don't know, I'd say it's like a theme, but I would say it's an arc is maybe the best way to say it. I wanted to say, take each thing that made it all work, that made it enough to tell a story about, and then make sure that each one of those things had a decent payoff, a good payoff that was satisfying. So I hope it does it. We'll see.
Well,
Just gonna
I
stick
mean,
that landing there.
you're 2 for 2. I have faith in issue 3.
3 is my favorite. 3 is, I think,
if you just decide to really shit the bed now, like, I don't know, like, why?
I'm a little worried
What were
what
you
people think
thinking?
about the end of 3. That's I think the best twist, the one I'm most excited to draw and sort of direct. And I've storyboarded that one out, so I'm pretty pumped to get to that for real. And that's where.
Are you a digital artist? Like, how do you draw?
Oh yeah, I draw. Actually, I draw with a mouse. I don't do
Really?
stylus at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
No way.
No.
I guarantee it.
It's too good. It's
What?
too fucking good. That's
So,
insane.
when I started working at a college at a place called Phoenix Advertising Art, and we were still doing a lot of technical art for, say, a gas heater or something like that. And my boss, the guy that owned the company, he was really older. He's like early 60s at that point. And he, I'd get these jobs, illustrate like a Mr. Heater propane tank you put on your trailer or something like that. And I'd sit there and struggle. I'd try and do it in ink, and I couldn't do it. I just could not make the line smooth enough. I've never had the steadiest hands, actually. When I had to mat things up for art school, my mom would end up doing it for me because I was terrible at it.
Dude.
But I'd see my boss do these perfect lines, like beautiful. He was doing a children's book illustration of a jetliner. So he drew the whole front end of the jetliner. It's probably a 10 to 15 inch line that curves at the end, and he did it perfectly, like a Chick Stone line, if you're familiar with the old Marvel Comics inker. And I watched him do it with a marker. I said, Jerry, how the heck do you do that? And he said, well, gosh, I'm doing his voice. That probably doesn't mean anything to you guys. Couldn't help but do it. And he said, well, I didn't really get it until I tried and practiced every day for 20 minutes. And about 5 years ago, so when he was probably 57, it kind of clicked. I finally started to see it get a little better, and then it improved quickly. And I thought, I'm not going to be employable. Because back in the 80s, 90s, when he was working, you could kind of suck and still get a lot of work. You could still work at a studio, do Transformer coloring books, some stuff they did, and you could make a living. It'd be fine. You wouldn't get rich or nothing, but you could slowly get better. As things got more and more condensed in all the graphic industries, you had to be good right then. And so I kind of started learning digital tools. And to be honest, I think back even when I started to mess around with MS Paint as a kid, I liked doing digital. I wanted to do that way. I gravitated towards it. So when I started using some of the programs I draw with, that clicked with me. And, once you just stay with something, you get better and better at it. But that's how it happened. It was kind of necessity. I thought, I'm not going to make a living.
You use a mouse. You don't have a pen.
Well, essentially, if you guys use Adobe Illustrator, I use an older program. It's not really around anymore, but it basically functions like Clip Studio. But if in Illustrator, when you're doing your brushes or your pen tool, you have this one that like you just do points up here, up here, up here, and it averages out the curve for you. That's basically what I use. So it's a nice way to make your lines perfect, or at least editable, so you can make them perfect. Also, it ends up being all vector, so I can scale it up to any size I need, which is also good.
Wow.
And that kind of just comes out of my day job. I have to do stuff like that. I can't do it one way, and then there's like, actually now we need it to print out on the side of a tractor trailer, and you've got to have you've got to make sure you've been prepared for that. So it kind of just grew out of doing graphic design work and illustration work. That's been my workflow because you have to be super flexible. So when it came to comic stuff, I'd go home and do it at night. It was going to kind of be like that.
Wow. What about you, Joel? Like, how do you make your pretty pictures?
I am ink on boards, old school.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
so you draw with your hands like a weirdo.
Yeah, like I'm 100 years old. I use pencils and ink. Yeah, I'm all traditional.
Amazing.
The tones are digital. My letterer Joe Daxberger letters.
Look at these panels though, dude. Like I fucking love these panels so much. Like I love it. Like this grayscale, the snow. Oh man, I love it so much. It's so good.
They're so dramatic.
I'm actually excited that you like, because I feel like so many people don't draw with their hands anymore. Like it's all, and now please listeners, like do not, I am not saying that like one person's more talented than the other, just that like it's intriguing to me that like we have these new tablets, and I know digital drawing, there are some like corners you can cut, but you still have to be able to fucking draw, right? Like I'm not trying to say that like you still have to have talent to draw digitally, but there's like things that you can do to like save time, and which is so like the other day I learned I don't know, I can't remember what artist did it, but like some artist fucked up like a picture, and they had to like take a piece of paper and cut the piece of paper out and like redraw it and like paste it over the paper that they already drew, like just to like fix it. And whereas like if you're digital, you can do all that in a different way. And that
might have been me. I posted about that yesterday. That may have been me actually. I showed a paste up I did on a page that you can't tell in the finished book, but if you look at the original art, you can see that it's cut out and glued. I just didn't like the face, so I was like, let me take another run at this. And,
okay. So it's just crazy, and like these eyes right here, man, like just the anger and emotion that come out in your panels is so great, and it's so wonderful. I love this fucking book, man. I love it. Even if you wouldn't have sent it, even if you wouldn't have sent it to me, I still love it. I mean, I still bought the 5 issues. Like
I mean, you did. It's not like you didn't give me any money.
Yeah, but no, it's just it's crazy, and so this is me. Just recently I'm getting into manga and I'm getting into the black and white art. And before, man, I remember many years ago, I bought an X-Men Essential collection, right? And it was and I was so like, I was like, oh, it's in black and white. Like, what the fuck? Like, I was so mad when I got it. I was like, oh, I bought this on like $16 used on Amazon. And then it came and I was like, oh yeah, it's the Phoenix Saga. And I'm so excited. I open it up and it's all black and white. And I'm like, what did I just buy? Like, what the fuck? And it was like, I was like legit irritated. And now like, I have this new appreciation for black and white art. And yeah, man, you're just,
I mean, black and white started as a necessity. Printing color is crazy expensive.
Yeah.
So when I was coming out of school, I was working, I had a horrible job after I graduated school at like a greeting card plant. And I had no money. I was paying student loans, I'd making horrible money, and it's like, how am I actually going to afford to put this book out in the world? Like when you're in art school, there's like this safety net under you where you're like, hey, I'm going to do a 600-page fully painted graphic novel, and you're like, yeah, that'll be wonderful. Especially like Kubert school is like that. There's like an infectious energy at Kubert, and it's like anything can happen. And then you get out of school and all of a sudden you're like, nothing can happen without money. And so, I mean, that's where the black and white started. But I like black and white comics. I mean, I like all comics.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
takes all of them.
exactly. Like it's just weird things that I've learned to appreciate. And then let's see. So we're going through everybody's stuff right now. I just want to make sure we get everybody knows where. All right. So nope. Stupid double clicking. All right. And then so let's see here. Nope, that's just me. We don't want that. Damn it. Why is this not? It's being an asshole right now. It's doing it again. Here we go. All right. I just need to learn to click the right button. All right. So then here we go. Disciple. So how does your art, is your artist digital or how do they draw, Todd?
The truth is, he draws on boards.
Okay.
Yeah, so because actually one of our rewards is you get a page, and when I met Jordan, he showed me like physical samples. But I've worked with guys that draw digitally. I mean, whatever works for them as so long as it looks good.
Yeah. It's all tools. Just use whatever you want, as long as you get a good
I mean,
finished
when I
product
first
at the end.
started doing stuff digitally, I was bad, so I know it's not. There's no magic button. There's no shortcut.
Yeah, I think
took
sometimes
just as long.
some people think like you just hit a button and the computer makes a comic for you these days, but I can assure you that is not the case.
There's still
I'm continuing the search for that button I've yet to find.
Yeah.
I would let
You
you know.
still have to be able to draw. Like we know that. But it's just I mean, I'm with you guys. Like, as a consumer, I just want it to look good. I want the story to flow, and I want to be swept away, right? And it's I can be swept away by a digital artist. I can be swept away by an analog artist, or with pencils, or if it's just inks and stuff. Like, it's just a crazy world we live in, right? Like technology. Like right now, we're having a fucking panel, late night streaming, and I'm pulling up pages and showing art. It's just, technology does a lot of cool stuff, but also like, sometimes it's just like, let's just fucking draw on paper. Like, and it's funny, like it's, like we live in this sequential narrative storytelling mode where it's like, yes, I draw on paper, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, you draw on paper. And then someone else is like, yeah, I have this like $high fucking tablet, and I draw on this tablet, and it's just, I don't know, man, it's just cool. Like, I don't understand any of it because I'm not an artist, but I appreciate it, and it looks pretty, and like, Benjamin draws with a fucking mouse, which that just blows my goddamn. Like, that's what I don't understand. Everybody I've seen,
it's weird. I can see that it's weird. It came out. I mean, I did so much technical art starting out of just basically stuff, how to install your sync, that kind of thing.
Do people shame you like when they're like, "Oh, I bought this new pen for my tablet," and you're like, "Yeah, I have this mouse."
I don't think they could shame me. They spend all the money. I'm still doing okay.
That's true. Yeah. You're like, does your mouse have the ball on it, or do you use a laser?
No, it's just no. I got a plug one here.
Wow.
Right here. This is it.
I was kind of hoping you'd be like,
yeah.
I use like the ball mouse.
I used the laser one for a while, but the USB one that Bluetooth, but it gets, you really notice, this is kind of interesting when you're drawing with it, you get so dialed in that when the battery starts to slow down, and it gradually does, it screws everything up. Like, so I'm that used to it reacting in a certain way that when it's a little bit off, it just really messes me up. So that's why I have the wire USB mouse. But yeah, that's just how I kind of got started making artwork, professionally, and it kind of stuck with me. It was easier for me to do it that way during the day, and then come home and do it at night, more or less the same way.
Well, I mean, hey man, however you do it, like just stick with it, because
it's working, man. Don't change anything.
Do not change anything in issue 3, 4, or is it 4 is your total?
It's gonna be 4. Yeah.
What are you gonna do? All right, so like, I have a question for everybody, actually, and because we're wrapping up, but I just came up with this question last minute because that's what I do, because I don't know how to end things. But like, so like Joel did his collected edition, and it's a very nice trade, and it's girthy, and it's worth the money, and it's got he did a new cool cover for it, and like,
Very cool cover.
like it's when that seems to be like a new Kickstarter trend, which I'm digging. Like, like, oh, we'll do like 4 or 5 issues and then drop like the Kickstarter trade, and then we'll throw some bonus stuff out there, but you'll get a new cover and you'll get like an actual trade paperback, or some people do like the hardcover. Do you think you're going to do that like after the 4 issues? Like, are you going to try and drop a collective edition or a collected edition, or are you just going to keep it with the singles?
For Scarlet Twilight, I think probably. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a trade on Kickstarter, or if we're going to just wait to do that physically in stores, and just have that be the book. I might do a Kickstarter exclusive that has all the stuff I put in the previous issues, with sketches and things like that. I kind of want to make sure that, however I separate it out, that the people that supported in Kickstarter have something that nobody else has gotten. So that's kind of the foremost thing on my mind for how we'd approach that, and we'll see what makes sense to do. And I'm also going to do a series. I wasn't going to continue the story, but I kind of had a good idea about it, and I'll probably keep that going. So I might just hold off until we have 10 issues of it. That's like the whole darn thing that Captain Lancet, the hero of Scarlet Twilight, goes through.
Okay, well, you just went from 4 to 10.
Yeah,
that's a big jump.
Yeah, the other one's going to be longer. I'm going to do it. I don't know if I'm going to do this one right. The next, I might do another August series next. I might do a different sci-fi idea I have, or I might do this. I'm kind of just going to see what happens. But I didn't really have anything else to do with the Scarlet Twilight story, and I just had a few. The same way I kind of came up with this, I had a few different ideas floating around, like kind of basing a. I had an idea like, oh, it'd be cool if I ever got to write JSA to do like something that was really based on some of the campaigns in World War II, or just the logistical types of challenges they had to go through during those battles, and see if I could kind of bring that as a skeleton to hang a plot on for a superhero story. And I thought, well, that would be cool in Scarlet Twilight, actually. And then I also was reading my old copy of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I thought, it'd be cool to do something like Crisis, but in the 1930s style. Just all the metaphysical, other dimensions, crazy, out of control stuff, but in that like really almost simplistic, nuts and bolts style. So, so that'll be the next one of that, and maybe we just might wait until we have all of it together to make it one big story as far as collecting it goes.
Well, cool. You got some money out of me, sir. I'll pay for that shit all day. and then AJ, let's pull your link up here. I'm sure there's a better way to do this. I just don't know how to do StreamYard. And then let's see. Oh, damn it! I did it again. No one wants to see my face. All right. So AJ, what are you doing? Like, do you have more shorts planned in this like weird, creepy universe that you're constructing, or are you just dropping this out here, see what happens? Like, what you got a long game going? What do you got going on, buddy?
For this project, not really much of a long game. We're just gonna try to get this funded, and then also like there are rewards where you can get more comics that, again, like I created with other creators, and the other creator created by himself. And yeah, actually, me and Leslie Julian, who's maybe gonna listen to the show later.
He's been on my show. He better listen, that motherfucker.
So him and I were going to also launch a Kickstarter campaign together, but this one is going to be more for like a mini series that we're going to do together.
Okay.
So I'm really excited about that. But in terms of this project, yeah, it's mainly just 2 short comics that me and Ethan Lute did together, and we were like, okay, let's put this out and see if anyone is interested, and then we'll see if like people are interested. We'll maybe even, because the like comic is already finished, so we're basically gonna try to maybe reach out to a few publishers and be like, listen, this is finished. Like, we also got some digital backers that were interested in this. What are you saying? Like, what do you say? should we do this or not? And and we'll see from there.
All right. Well, all right. So I've kept you guys around for over 2 hours. So let's do a round robin. We're gonna tell everybody where to find everybody, where to follow everybody, where to keep track of everybody. Post your your socials and your social security numbers and everything that we can do to keep track of everybody. Todd, let's start with you, bud. Hold on one second. Here we go. Hold on. So where do we keep track of you at? Where's the best place to follow you and keep track of your future comic book endeavors?
Just go to toddmathy.com and sign up for my mailing list. That will keep you in touch. And I'm on, and for my takes on wrestling and other things, just go to Todd C. Matthy on Twitter.
Man, I'm so excited for more of what you got going on here. This is so cool. I'm stoked. What I think I asked you before, but I may have forgotten. Like, ideally, like how long you want to run this story for?
6 issues.
That's right, 6 issues. Now, and would you? I know we're thinking way too far ahead, and I don't want to fly you too close to the sun and melt your wax wings because they're so beautiful. But like, would you put out a trade? Like, would you drop a Kickstarter trade, or would you want to just keep the singles?
I think I would.
Cool, because I'd buy it. I'm just saying. Like,
awesome.
Maybe I'm the only one. Like, if no one else wants it, I'll fucking PayPal you $30 so you send me the trade. All right, so yeah, everybody follow Todd. Everybody back this Kickstarter. Where are we at? I didn't even look yet because you were real close.
We're still real close.
You're $74 away.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's exciting. And you have 15 days. Oh man, you're good. You got 15 days to go. You're done. You're sitting pretty. You got stretch goals or anything you're planning on?
Yeah, we got some stretch goals. We got some fun stuff planned.
Nice.
You got that. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't, just, I'll beat $26 out of somebody for you. I'll take them to the back alley, show them how to do it. All right. Okay. So everybody follow Todd. Joel.
Yes.
Who are you? Where do we find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Joel_Lolar. That's my name. And this Saturday, I will be at WickedCon in Boston Seaport. First time in over 2 years. Gonna head out to a con. Got the rest of the Stockpile boys will be with me. Ryan Miller, Tony Sedani, Joe Daxberger. Brian Weiner will be there. They all have stuff in the Collected Forever winner, so we're all going to be there selling some books. Hopefully, come on out,
dude. Stockpile boys sounds real cool. Like, I want to be a stockpile boy. Like, can someone with no talent and no stories out and can they be? How do I become a stockpile boy? Like,
they let me in, so the bar is very low.
And speaking of stockpile, stockpilecomics.com here in the next shortly, right? You're going to have volume 1 available on stockpilecomics.com.
Yeah, Monday. I still gotta look into some of the Stockpile boys represent. I still gotta look into some of the shipping. That's Ryan Miller, very talented guy in his own right. There's a book called Mangull, which will change your life. I forgot what I was saying. But
so Ryan is so talented, he just threw Joel off his
his talent platform. Is so scary. Yeah,
Joel's trying to tell people how to give him money, and Ryan just fucked all that up. Just threw him for a loop.
Yeah, that's what he does.
I'll get him off.
Get him off.
So you can concentrate. So like,
you gotta pick him up at the airport tomorrow. So
but yeah, stockpile. Your website here in the next short time.
Yeah, it should be Monday. I'm gonna put it up. So we're doing the show this weekend, so I'm leaving to head into the city for the week because those guys are coming up from Maryland, so we're just going to hang out in the city and do the show on Saturday. So when I get back on Monday, I'm still on vacation. I'm gonna put the books up for sale. So the books will finally be up for sale.
Sounds like you're working a little too hard to be on vacation. You're like, I'm on vacation. I'm going to go to this con. I'm going to pick up my buddy from the airport. I'm going to go to this con all weekend. I'm going to hustle. And then when I'm still on vacation, I'm going to go back home. I'm going to redo the website. I'm going to relaunch this book.
That's
I'm
it.
Do all this shit. That's how you got to do it.
If you knew my real job, I would much rather be hustling the book. I've had like people reach out to me and be like, I can't find the book. Where's the book? And I'm like, man, after I did the Kickstarter, it's like you do the Kickstarter, then you can deal with the printer, then you finally get the books and you go do fulfillment. And I was like, man, I just need like 3 weeks to just draw. I need to just just be creative for a couple of days. And that's turned into a couple of weeks. But yes, thank you to anybody who reached out. Monday, I'm going to put the books up on the site. So
exciting. And as someone who has the trade, it's a beautiful trade. It's got an awesome new cover. And regardless of the cover and the back cover, the middle parts, the pages that have the story are real fucking good. Like
those are pretty good too.
It's so good. Man. I love it. I really do. Like you're a really great storyteller, and it aggravates me that you draw and do everything by yourself, just like Ben. Like you guys, why are you even on my fucking show? Like Ben is like double funded and good to go. Joel's already completed a Kickstarter, and you guys done. Still told me you would come on here, which just blows my goddamn mind. On that note, Joel, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Oh no, I've been stoked to talk to you about I love it. It's cool. Benjamin Morse. Where's a good place to keep track of you?
I'll throw my Twitter in the chat here. That's where I generally post most of my stuff. Information about what's going on because We Are Scarlet Twilight is going to be on Kickstarter through issue 4, and then August is going to be out in I think actually late August. So whenever the order information for that's available, I'm posting that there. So that is the place to keep track of me.
I was gonna ask.
You got a catch up tier on that Kickstarter?
I do. Yeah, actually. Thanks for asking.
He does. It's super cheap. He should charge way more fucking money for it.
Well, that's the thing. Actually, to get a little into the business side, I know we're trying to wrap up, but I kind of wanted. This was an experiment. I wanted to see what I could do by myself, and I'm lucky I can draw and do all this other things. I don't have to we got to make so much money because I got to pay an artist or a letterer or a colorist. I kind of just wanted to see if I could build, an audience a little bit, see if people liked what I was doing, and carry that through to other projects because I want to keep doing this. I really like just putting stuff out in Kickstarter, publishing it later, maybe even not publishing it later. So it was kind of cool. Just I wanted to say, all right, I can just put this out there and I don't need to charge that much to make some money on it because I'm doing it all myself. And just wanted to get my stuff in front of a lot of people. So that was kind of the main idea behind how I came up with the pricing and all that.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like fucking $3 for a digital issue. Like what are you doing?
I mean, it's digital issue. It's 22 pages. So the first one's a little longer. But I wanted to, it's not the big two. You could be spending money on another issue of Batman.
Could be though. I want
to be competitive. That's the thing. Is I know that's not realistic for the print issues. But I want people to look at it. I want to see if people like it. So that was the thinking there. If I knew the digital can't get out of control, I'm not going to have to worry about shipping, and just wanted, like I said, try to start to build an audience on my own. So, and
I also like that. I feel like as a former variant addict, I feel like Kickstarter is getting a little too fucking crazy for variants. And it's like, there's 8 variants there's 8 safe for work variants. And then there's 5 titty variants that cost $45 an issue.
I've seen
and
that.
It's like, that's great. That's wonderful.
I saw a body pillow on one campaign, actually. That was
yeah, right. And I really appreciate how you just have your regular cover and then you have your variant throwback. Which is very retro, and they're also wonderful, and they're also affordable. So I really love how you're running your Kickstarter campaign, which is just
well, I'm not that smart, so I got to keep it simple.
Same.
That's the best way to go.
That's the fucking
Yep.
Blake's Buzz motto right there. Like, it's just like, I'm not that smart. I gotta keep it simple. Like, please come on my show. I'll smile and laugh and post your links here. Like, it's great. No, that's awesome. And dude, you're just fucking ridiculous. Like, you're like all of you guys, by the way. I just want to throw out there that you're all really fucking talented and real chill, which is just cool. Like, that's real cool to me, and I appreciate that as a host. Last again but not least, and we started with AJ. We're gonna end with AJ. Like, that's fucking dope. Like, where we find you at, bud? Like, where we keep track of you? What's going on? Tell us.
First of all, I want to say, Joel, I live right next to you. I live in Providence, Rhode Island. Let's meet up, man. Like, we gotta meet up. Build a community. But yeah, in terms of finding me, right now, again, I have that Kickstarter going on. I'm actually doing the worst part right now out of the bunch. But yeah, like, please help me. I'm struggling. Yeah, so it's again, realistic horror campaign for a double feature. So if you would like to back that, it's still going on. We have 14 days. And in terms of finding me, you can find me at Twitter and Instagram at AJO Mason Writer. And yeah, I will start posting updates about the campaign that I got with Leslie Julian that's supposed to come out around May. And then also my big trilogy with Dominic Bustamante for IDW. So yeah, thank you so much again, Blake, for having me, and also thank you for everyone that was here.
Well, you say thank you now, but I want you back on my show twice because I love Leslie and I would love to have both of you back on, and you're publishing something with IDW. So, like, yeah, you got to come back on for that to make me look cool. And also, if you motherfuckers don't fucking get AJ's Kickstarter funded, I'm just going to shut the fucking whole thing down. Just shut Blake's Buzz down and tell you all fuck off and we're done. That's it, because it's fucking really good. It's two quick hitting digital issues. It's affordable. You guys just need to back it. More people need to read it. It's uncomfortable. It's raw. It's visceral. It's bloody. It's mean. It's fucking hits you in the fucking nuts. And it does everything that you want horror to do. And he should be funded right now. That's just my opinion. And my opinion does matter because it's my fucking show and you're listening to me. So I get to say shit like that. Like, I matter, ladies and gentlemen. Like, yes, all these guys, like all of these wonderful people deserve your money. Joel doesn't have a campaign going right now, but you really, really want to pick up that trade. It's a beautiful trade. It's printed well. It's everything about it. It's wonderful. It's kept me up late the last few nights. It's just like I get fucking lost in it, and it's wonderful. Todd, I don't know fucking dog shit about wrestling, man, but Todd's got me caring about it. And every big name in comic book believes in him, which is, I mean, like, give him your money for that. Like, he's got every fucking pull quote you ever wanted that, like, and justified. Like, I've only read a third of the comic and it's good, and I want the rest of it, and I'm hungry for the rest of it. And Benjamin draws with a mouse. I don't like regardless of that, regardless of how he draws, it's so good. And it's like I kind of wish we wouldn't have mentioned vampires in this show, because it just fucking smacks you in the face when, like, you're reading his comics.
That twist happens, I think, on like page 7 of issue 1. So it's not. It's a first 10-minute, twist. So I think the good stuff, the more solid twists, are in 3 and 4. And those are the ones I was excited about. So yeah, don't worry about it.
Cool.
All good.
Guys, I'm excited for all of you. Like, you guys have some really fucking awesome indie comics, and that's what Blake's Buzz is here to do, is celebrate indie comics, because there's so many outlets and ways to, like different publishers and self-publishing and crowdfunding and all this stuff, and it's amazing, and it impresses the shit out of me that you guys do what you do. And I'm so glad that you guys spent a couple hours with me tonight, and I appreciate you. And you're also just dirty, nasty, talented. It irritates me. It's crazy. And anything any of you do in the future, like if you ever need promo, if you ever need hype, if you're definitely a pull quote, because fucking I get off on putting my name on a cover, like let me know. I will help you out. Or if you just get bored one night and want to come back on Blake's Buzz, I am here for you. Guys, one last shot. Anything else anybody wants to shout out before we get done?
You're the best.
Me on, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
I can't wait for the angry tweet when you finish Forever Winter. I can't wait for you to get to the end of that first volume.
What does that mean? That's in. Oh man, now,
you'll find out.
Fuck. Now I gotta work tomorrow, man. You can't keep me up all night again.
I didn't say it had to be tomorrow. I look forward to it whenever it arrives.
No, but for like, it's just crazy because I just like I keep like I have like I have a fucking like a weirdo like headband like flashlight for my head that I like read in bed, and like I'm like laying in bed and you know like I'm like I start reading and it's like 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then all of a sudden it's like fucking 2:30, and I'm like, man, I gotta fucking I gotta close this book, I gotta get to bed, because I read slow. Like I'm not a fucking genius, man. It takes me a minute to get through some stuff. So
Same here.
God forbid if you have a fucking novel, man. It takes me like a fucking year to read books without pictures these days. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna play my outro video, and then we're gonna end this. It's done. You guys did it. You put up with my shit, and you won the game. You all did.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, this was awesome. I appreciate all of you again. You're all disgustingly talented. I don't even know why you came on my fucking show. Like you're gonna get funded. People are gonna buy your comics. You're gonna get your name cemented in the annals of sequential graphic storytelling, right? Like you're already there. You already did it. Ben draws with a fucking mouse. I still can't believe that. I can't help it. I'm sorry, man. Like I don't want to throw. Everybody has those fucking like $100 pins, man. Like it.
Oh yeah, I'd lose.
Don't switch. Don't switch, because I feel like you're gonna fuck up Scarlet Twilight if you're like, oh, fucking Blake gave me shit and I bought this fucking $150.
I had started doing some original art. I did. There were a couple of books that got damaged for issue 1, and they were like super late getting the replacement copies out. So I like drew a picture of Captain Lancet. It was tough to get back into the pen and ink, but it's fun.
I bet.
My eyes are not what they were, 15 years ago. That's the only problem.
That's all the time drawing with a mouse.
You're fucking blind. You're like, man, I'm just drawing this great comic. I can't see a goddamn thing. I just
got the magnifying glass out.
You just feel. Okay. You feel. That's why you use the mouse. You like feel the. You feel.
Well, you can zoom in. It's great. No problem.
Son of a bitch! You guys are too good. I can't do it. All right, we're gonna play this outro video before I get too jealous. I love all of you. We're friends now, by the way, guys. Like we're all buddies.
Just became best friends.
Yeah, is your Velociraptor? Seriously? All right, we're done. It's Blake's Buzz Live.